kid. It's like the cameraman immediately upon hitting the ground, and it's the clip of Mike Tyson like, my back is broken. No, spinal.
Right. Tell you what he did though is pretty dangerous. If you've ever had a camera on your shoulder, that that 20 plus pounds is just helping you go to the ground.
Mm-hmm. Good thing you had that backpack on.
Samson got back last night from Europe. He said he'd be ready to go.
Okay. And no gators?
I actually tried to get an NHL guest
Okay.
and obviously didn't succeed.
You gonna do gators Thursday then?
Or I may do them tomorrow at 8
Okay.
because we have the 7:38 and the 8:38. Yeah, they did something they haven't done all year. They gave the booth a shot last night. Morning, Wancho, Johnny Mac. Morning, Rick.
30 seconds. So on that last play, it's both of their faults, or is it Hunter Renfro's fault?
Well, first off, the guy guarding Renfro grabbed him. Should have been a penalty.
5 seconds.
But yeah, it's Renfro's fault.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this Tuesday? Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm still in Kansas City after a thrilling Monday nighter that went down to the final seconds. Chiefs prevail. They're 4-1. The Raiders 1-4. Mark in the cozy confines of the 239. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
Good morning. Felipe hit me, and I took a 15-yard penalty.
How did he hit you?
Well, he really didn't. He walked past me in the air from his Chiefs jersey, kind of grazed my T-shirt, and I went flying into the wall, and a 15-yard penalty was called.
Well, Felipe, you need to understand, he is the quarterback in that room. He must be treated a certain way at all times, whether he has the ball or not.
Man, oh man. It's too bad that a thrilling game, and you're right, it was a great game. There was a lot of drama, but I think many people, again, are going to focus on this roughing the passer call.
Yes, I think they are. And this is my own theory, but they changed the concussion protocols for better or worse. And I think so far it's been both. They did it in the middle of the season, and they did it in basically a week. If you're running the league, you don't think between now and Thursday night, certainly between now and Sunday afternoon, you can't have an emergency summit. We can't get the officials together, even via Zoom, go over things and say, maybe we've gone too far, considering everyone is mocking us. I mean, is that out of line? You don't think, Mark, that we could come to some sort of understanding as to how we're going to call roughing the passer a little differently going forward between now and Sunday?
David, the Premier League just called and said the NFL is soft.
That's one of your all-time lines right there.
I mean, David, what are we going to do? And I think you're onto it, but this goes back to something you've harped upon for at least 4 or 5 years on this show, is that Belichick has always been of the opinion that every call should be challengeable. And I don't know how we can go forward with this type of ruling on roughing the passer without the ability to take a second look at it. I have been complimenting the officials on one thing, both on Saturdays and Sundays, that I see more of today than we do in the past. Officials having a discussion, coming back and saying there's no foul on the play, that they've determined they're going to pick the flag up, that another official overruled the guy who threw the flag. I don't know how we can't have somebody upstairs simply buzz the referee and say, you got to take a look at that, because most of the time the roughing the passer penalty is called by the head official, correct?
And Carl Sheffers, the referee, was the one that made that call last night. He has officiated 2 of the last 6 Super Bowls. I mean, this is not Jerome Boger, who made the call in the Bucs-Falcons game, is not a highly regarded referee. He is one of the lower graded referees year in, year out. Carl Sheffers is one of the best graded referees in the last half dozen years.
So
Oof.
It's a bad look. This is where I get a little bothered, because I think what you talked about, whether it's a meeting, whether it's the ability to add another element, and I know they don't want the games to go longer, but the NFL's got these games pretty much wired for sound. The game lasts 3 hours and 10 minutes. It doesn't go too much longer that often. They've got this down. How many roughing the passers calls are there a game?
1.
You might even say a half. But it probably averages out to 1. You can take another look at that and be sure.
Spitz on Sports in our Twitch chat room says the problem is he would be the one to review it. He would have to overrule himself. Well, okay, then we change it. I mean, we could get into, and I know there's a danger. You start going down the road and now you start over officiating. Well, I would argue that's where we're at now. I don't see how a change to the protocol, procedure, whatever, would over officiate this play. I think, if anything, we're trying to under officiate this play. You know, there were two questions that I had. One can't be answered, which was, what was Chris Jones supposed to do? Gravity was at work here. He's a bigger man who has caught Carr from behind. They're going to fall to the ground together. I thought John Perry, ESPN's referee, made a very good point in which the way he saw it, he thought Chris Jones extended his left arm out so that he took more of the weight of the fall, and that he tried not to have his full body weight just fall on Carr. Perry thought that Chris Jones, while making the sack and the forced fumble and recovering the fumble, actually also had the presence of mind to not fully come down on Carr. But the second question that I had, Mark, is, you know, Brady was sacked and he maintained possession of the ball. When Jones hit Carr, he took the ball right from him. Before the, quote, roughing occurred,
He had the ball.
Right.
He had the ball.
So therefore, is it still roughing the passer?
Tom
Now-
Pelissero had the best tweet on that, David, and he just said, Chris Jones became the first player in NFL history called for roughing the passer while holding the ball.
And
He got a penalty while holding the football, David.
right. Now, it happened late first half, and John Perry did not address it between the sack fumble and the end of the half, but he did address it at the very beginning of the third quarter, and how he viewed that situation, quote, by rule. Mark, I can read you. I will give Carl Sheffers credit. He answered questions after the game about it. And he was asked, obviously, you know, what'd you see and the whole deal. I mean, it's short. I could read it to you. Okay. But so he was asked, here's the question. The fact the ball came out before the quarterback landed on the ground and the player landed on the quarterback, does that negate the penalty? Sheffers, no, because the quarterback still gets passing protection until he can defend himself. So with him being in a passing posture and actually attempting to make a pass, he's going to get full protection until the time when he actually can protect himself. The fact that the ball came out and was subsequently recovered by the defense is not as far as the protection the quarterback gets. That also seems to defy logic.
Completely. And when people like Tony Dungy are taking to Twitter to rip the call, the NFL has a problem. I mean, Tony Dungy's been as NFL of a guy as there is, a pro league guy all the time in all circumstances. And when he is tweeting out, this is not football anymore. I know we have to protect the QB, but Chris Jones was recovering a fumble. We have gotten ridiculous with this.
As Paul points out in our Twitch chat room, when was the last time we had a call that we really got bent out of shape about? You got to go back 3.5 seasons. You got to go back to the 2018 NFC Championship game, Saints and the Rams, and the pass interference that wasn't called and it wasn't reviewable, and it cost the Saints merely a trip to the Super Bowl. I mean, it wasn't a big deal or anything. And we got bent out of shape. And the league 6 weeks later had meetings and they changed the rule and they made pass interference reviewable. Now, they did it for a year. Their heart wasn't behind it. They were sabotaging the rule change from the moment they put it in. It was seen as more of a PR fix than anything. And then we went through a year or two of not knowing what pass interference was. And let's face it, there were some calls last night that some people agreed with, some people didn't, involving pass interference. But I would argue, Mark, that, yeah, it was messy, but we've come to more of an understanding. Remember, we went a couple years where we didn't know what a tackle was.
And we still don't know what a catch is, but we have a better idea now than we ever did.
Right. And so I think if you're the NFL, you got to walk into the kitchen this morning and you got to try to make the meal better.
And I think they can. I think your point in the very beginning, if they can change the whole protocol on concussions with the NFLPA and the NFL in a matter of days, that they can have a meeting with the referees and review roughing the passer and where they're going to go forward with this. Because if this were to happen in the postseason, and come on now, they're going to protect the quarterbacks more in the postseason than they are maybe even in the regular season. It's hard to anticipate this not happening in the playoffs at the rate we're going now. So it does need to be fixed and addressed today, because you know the way the league works. They will slowly go anywhere. It doesn't usually come with a decisive change overnight, that they'll try to slow this down. But we shall see, because this is two calls that the league is going to look really bad this week, and this will be the big focus of the week with a lot of, not great games over the weekend. Last night's was, but the biggest call was the Brady call from yesterday or from 2 days ago, and now this call will influence this game as well.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'd like to nominate for a poll question which roughing the passer call was worse. Grady Jarrett on Brady or Chris Jones on Derek Carr?
Done. I'm typing as we speak. Look at that. 6:13 and a poll question's done. Miller and Moulton, David Samson, Pat Kirwan on the show today. We thank you for listening to the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, sandboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. This is my favorite. By the way, that was put out by Pro Football Focus.
What, that clip?
That tweet. Refs roughing the passer, and they've got the wrestler touching the guy and the guy falling.
Micah Parsons said they want us to play like we're in the Pro Bowl.
Well, that's basically what Troy said, although he said it a little.
Take the dresses off.
Take the dresses off. Well, but Rick, I mean, think about it. If the Raiders, the Raiders got 3 points. It was 17-7 Raiders, a little over a minute to go. Sack, fumble, should have been Chiefs ball on like the 40. Down 10. Instead, the Raiders go down and kick a field goal. Now, yes, the Chiefs got that field goal at the end of the half, but I mean, you got to figure if they call that the way we wanted them to call it, the Chiefs get at least 3 out of it. But I'll say this, go Raiders. I mean, to me, 17-0, 5 minutes in the second quarter is like an NBA team having a 20-point lead in the middle of the second quarter. I mean, there's still so much time, and it's the Chiefs, for goodness sakes. I mean,
yeah, I mean, if it was 2-0, you wouldn't think it was that big of a deal. I never thought that was that decisive at that point of the game. Not against that team.
No. Well, but there's no doubt, go Raiders, about the can't finish part. I mean, what is it? 4 games? Is it 15 points total? There are 4 losses. Oof. It's funny, though. You see them play the Chiefs like that, and you think to yourself, well, who can't they beat?
Who's your college team, go Raiders?
Tell you what, Patrick Mahomes in person. Jeez. $80 degrees, by the way, an hour before kickoff. 80 degrees. It was an amazingly beautiful night. Joe pointed out right before the broadcast something I didn't realize. It was their first Chiefs-Raiders game.
Right.
Those two have done 500 games.
Yeah, well,
but
mostly in the NFC. Did you
right.
Did you let Joe know that I nearly texted him? Did you tell your story of dying on the air?
I did. I think everything, A, having to do the show on the road, B, the story. I think that's why when he introduced all of us, his description of me was something along the lines of David Moulton and his traveling road show.
30 seconds.
And I think it all played into that.
$15 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. David Samson, who was taking in the Giants and the Packers. He got back in the States last night. He will join us in a little more than an hour. Pat Kirwan, who did not leave the States. He will join us at the top of the 8 o'clock hour for a couple segments. Mark, on this Tuesday in which the divisional series get underway in baseball and the NHL season gets underway in the States. Because let's face it, all right, I don't even think most hockey fans consider the whole Nashville, San Jose, 2 games in the Czech Republic as, official.
Not necessarily with those 2 teams. That's for certain, David. The text line, which is 21,000. If you've never texted before, FSN radio is the keyword. They'll ask you for that. And then once you type that in, you're good to go. We got this text, David. Make it easy. If the QB is touched in any way behind the line of scrimmage before the ball leaves his hand, he's sacked.
Well, Felipe, I think during the break, read a tweet from, who is it with the Cowboys?
Micah Parsons.
Who said something along the lines of they want us to treat quarterbacks the way we have to in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, the first 2 sacks of the game were in the grass where they didn't even try to tackle the quarterback.
Well, didn't you think when Max Crosby wrapped up Mahomes, put his arms around him, and was beginning to push him back, that basically they both came to an agreement? I won't fight you, and you won't throw me to the ground. And so Crosby and Mahomes did a little dance for a few steps together. And then it was almost as if Max Crosby handed Patrick Mahomes to the referee. Here you go. That's a sack. I'm going to run off the field now.
Yep. Put the bubble wrap around him and made sure that he didn't go to the ground.
Right.
Yeah, I thought for sure Crosby said, I'm not going to get a penalty on this play. I'm not going to get a roughing the passer call. I'm just going to give him a big hug.
It was at that point we went to commercial break, and I did ask Troy. I said, did Reggie White just ever hug you and hand you to the official? And he'd, no. A little different now, huh? Yeah, a little. So, yeah, it did start early. Yes, it did. And I don't know about you, but I thought that Crosby did that because of the Grady Jarrett call.
100%. What else could it have been, David?
And then sure enough, an hour or so later, we would have this controversy. How about this? What if they just made this subtle, in this particular case, this subtle change? Mark, they review every score, whether it's called a score, and then they take a look at it and go, nope, guy was down at the half-yard line. We had one of those last night. Or whether or not guys ruled down at the half-yard line and they go, oh, actually, that's a touchdown. How about if we review every turnover? Because if that was the case, last night's play would have been ruled a turnover. Right?
No. A flag was thrown. The penalty overrules the turnover, David. So, and I thought they already reviewed all turnovers. All change of possessions are reviewed, are they not?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, sorry to throw a bucket of water on that one, but I don't think that works.
How about, and I know a lot of people are hesitant to say this, but how about if we just finally admit Belichick was right 10, 12 years ago in which he just said, how about you just give us a certain number of challenges and we can challenge any damn thing we want? I mean, we got 120 to 140 plays in this here game. You never know which one could be the play.
And we've seen over the years many times when we think a challenge is going to be overturned, they still don't do it. So there's still no certainty that you're going to get the call. I mean, even last night, the referee was so adamant in his description of what happened. I don't know if challenge that would have been overturned. Should have been.
Well,
based on his rationale behind it, he's going to watch it again and say, "Oh, he didn't fall on him with his full weight."
but we know that there are times when New York is making the call. I mean, they do have the expedited review in which that's being reviewed elsewhere. And then they radio down to the referee and go, yeah, we got that wrong. Change it. That happened last night. That seems to be happening once a game. Most people are in favor of that. A, they get it right, and B, they do it quickly. So, I mean, if you think about it, almost all roughing the passers are going to be called by the referee.
Right.
So, if we are going to change this in any way, don't we have to then make it so that the person who threw the flag over 90% of the time is not the one looking at the video and making the decision? Because he's obviously biased before he looks at the video. He thinks it's roughing. I mean, did anybody remember, I believe it was second quarter, Mahomes down near the goal line, he gets sacked and he is thrown to the ground, just like the Grady Jarrett sack of Brady.
Right.
The exact same play. And they didn't throw a flag. And I mean, did you all turn and look at the person next to you or look at yourself like, wait a minute? Is that not an admission right there that the Brady call was ridiculous? Only for them to trump that within 20 minutes.
The other story you're going to hear a lot of today, the only thing that will try to take the roughing the passer off the front page is Davante Adams pushing a cameraman at the end of the game. Coming off the field in frustration, he shoved a cameraman. Cameraman went to the ground.
And he went down hard. As you know, Al Davis is up there in heaven going, well, you know, I mean, must go down and they must go down hard.
Run that play again, Davis just yelled.
Davante took to Twitter within a half an hour and said, my bad. I screwed up. I apologize.
He'll get a bigger fine than the referee.
You know, you're probably right. Don't you think the NFL at least has to come out today and say, we got these two calls wrong?
I would hope so. I really would. But I don't have a lot of confidence that we're going to hear something like that from the NFL today.
Well, I know the NBA has referee, like an NBA referee account.
Yes.
They note when they miss calls.
Yes.
I don't know if the NFL is the same thing.
They don't. It's certainly not public. What the NBA does is it becomes public. If it doesn't become public immediately, it does within 24 hours. Mark, the NFL cares about public opinion. They listen to sports talk radio. They make a few decisions based on people calling in, screaming and yelling, saying the league's a joke. Don't they at the very least have to make it so that people like us are not saying, hey, the league is a joke? Miller and Moulton, starting five is next. Thanks for listening, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I'm having a tough time answering this poll question. They both suck.
You said you have a tough time answering it?
Yeah. I stared at it for like 15 seconds, and I had my hand on the Chris Jones one. I moved it down to the Grady Jarrett one.
I think the Chris Jones one just because he had the ball in his hand. It was a strip sack.
What is funny is if you voted Chris Jones, how many of you a day earlier said that the Grady Jarrett roughing the passer call was the worst one you'd ever seen? Good morning, Dandy, from the Balkans. I'm going to have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Early in the starting five.
Ten seconds.
Look at you, Greg Anderson. Vikings are 4-1, and you're still bashing Cousins.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson, 1 hour from now. He was over at the Giants-Packers game. We'll talk to him about that experience and then also get into the baseball playoffs, in which the division series, all four of them, game one later today and tonight. Our poll question is already up, which is fantastic because yesterday, I don't think we asked one at all.
No, we didn't.
So, once again, the consistency of Miller and Moulton is what shines through day after day.
Moving forward, this is a strong start, David, for the rest of the week. I'm looking at this in a positive way. I'm not worried about yesterday. I'm going to move forward.
Look at you. You got your coach speak and your cliches.
Yeah, I've got them down this morning.
And in the 6 o'clock hour, too. That's outstanding of you. What was the poll question we agreed upon again?
It was the one you came up with, David.
Which roughing the passer call was worse? Grady Jarrett on Brady Sunday afternoon. The worst one of all time. Only to maybe be topped by Chris Jones on Derek Carr last night. Maybe. So, and I'm curious how many of you were saying 24 hours ago, the Grady Jarrett roughing the passer is the worst one ever. And then you're going to vote for the Chris Jones roughing the passer.
I had a difficult time answering it because all of the above is the choice that I wanted to go with, but we didn't offer that one.
We try not to offer cop-outs on our poll question. Mark, this is one of the few times in which your apparent cop-out answer I would have defended you on because I did the same thing. For 3 minutes during the commercial break, I stared at that question going, how am I going to rationalize this vote? I voted Chris Jones.
I did as well because he had the ball when he landed on the quarterback. At the end of the day, when you possess the ball and can still be called for roughing the passer.
It seems to add a little insult to injury, right?
I mean, what's next? The guy's going to pick the pass off. The quarterback's going to go to make a tackle. He's going to lower the shoulder and run over him, and they're going to call roughing the passer?
Maybe. Depends on how you interpret the rule, I guess.
Exactly.
19 minutes before the hour. It is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
It was an outstanding game last night. One of the best rivalries in the league. The Chiefs and the Raiders. Las Vegas jumped out to a 17-0 lead 20 minutes into the game. The Chiefs then scored on their next 5 possessions. Mark, I got a couple questions for you. Coaching decisions / analytics were very much at play last night.
Yes, they were.
So it's 24-23, fourth quarter. Chiefs score after what I think is one of the most bogus penalty calls that I've seen, one that hasn't been called in 7 years, by the way, on a field goal in which a Raider was called for holding so that somebody could get by him and try to block the field goal. I didn't even think the guy engaged with the blocker. And instead of the missed field goal, the Chiefs kept the ball, first down. They would later score. Okay, it's 30-23. They're going to kick the extra point. Only they decide to go for 2. They want to go for the kill shot, if you will, to go up 9. Do you agree with the decision to go for 2 up 7?
I understand it, but no, I do not agree with it. I would go up 8, force them to score and get a 2-point conversion.
I agree. And that's what I felt at the time, because to me, if you go for 2 and you don't get it, you can lose in regulation. You kick the extra point, the worst thing that can happen, in theory, is they tie you in regulation. So then, of course, the Raiders, down 7, go the length of the field and score. 4:27 to play. They're down 1. They go for 2 and the lead. Now, the Chiefs have just scored on 5 consecutive possessions, and they're going to get the ball back with full timeouts with 4:27 to play. Josh McDaniels' decision to go for 2. Do you like it?
I do. I have no problem with it. They're trailing. They're on the road. You don't know if you're going to get the ball back with 4:29 left. You really don't. Even with the 2-minute warning and 3 timeouts and all the things that are there, you don't know if you're going to get the ball back with an amount of time to give yourself a reasonable chance to win the game. So I have no problem with the Raiders going for 2.
I would have kicked the extra point. The reason being there was too much time left on the clock. That I thought you're not playing for the win here with 4:27 to go. The other thing is that if you make it, you now make it automatically 4-down territory for the Chiefs. Where in theory, if you kick the extra point, they get to 4th down, there's a chance they could punt or decide on a field goal. And remember, they're on a backup field goal kicker who had already missed 2 field goals in the game, one they negated by penalty. So I would have kicked the extra point both times, but that's me. Patrick Mahomes hooked up with Travis Kelce. How many of you are either A, doing the happy dance this morning because you had Travis Kelce in your fantasy, or B, you were playing someone who had Travis Kelce and you thought to yourself, well, I can't lose. I mean, hell, he'd have to catch like 4 touchdown passes for me to lose. And he did just that. For 25 or 28 total yards, by the way. He had like 6-7 catches in the game for 25 yards. But 4 of the catches were for touchdowns.
Right.
30-29, the Chiefs beat the Raiders. Chiefs are 4-1. The Raiders are 1-4.
Travis Kelce was the first tight end since 1985 to score 4 touchdowns in a game.
All right, quickly. Trivia question and answer is, who was the tight end?
I don't know.
All right, look it up. You've got 9 minutes.
Yep.
All right, once again, we reviewed this yesterday. If you have a winning record, you're in the playoffs after 5 games. It's very simple. In the AFC, Bills, Ravens, Titans, and Chiefs are your division leaders. Your wild cards are the Jets, Dolphins, and Chargers. Those are the 7 teams in the conference that have a winning record. In the NFC, same deal. Philly, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, your division leaders. Cowboys, Giants, Packers, your teams with winning records. They would be wild cards. There you have it. It's very simple. 5 weeks in, Mark. Bada bing, bada boom. It's very simple in Carolina. They fired Matt Rule. 2 1/3 years into a 7-year deal. They still owe him well over $40 million. I mean, they are.
He could buy a really nice house in either Lincoln or Madison when he gets one of those 2 jobs.
You know what? How about Georgia Tech? How about Matt Rule for Georgia Tech? He was at Temple and Baylor. He's a bit of a college builder. What about Georgia Tech? No?
Sure. What would, if you were off, let's throw Wisconsin out. Nebraska or Georgia Tech, what would you take?
No, I would take Nebraska, but
okay.
I'm just thinking about, other places where maybe they call. I mean, who knows? Maybe Wisconsin and Nebraska aren't interested. But I do think Georgia Tech should be interested in Matt Rule. I think it'd be a good fit. He was 11-27 in his 2 1/3 years in Carolina. They're 1-4 this year. They fired the defensive coordinator also, Phil Snow, because Steve Wilkes, who was like the assistant defensive coordinator, he got the job, and he said, yeah, get rid of this Phil Snow guy. Wilkes is an interesting candidate to be the interim head coach. He's 53 years old. He's a Charlotte native, went to high school there, was part of the Carolina Panthers when they went to the Super Bowl with Cam Newton 7 years ago. He's also one of the 6 coaches joining Brian Flores in his suit against the league. I got to admit, it probably hurt the lawsuit if Carolina gave him the job full time.
Wouldn't help it.
He was head coach in Arizona for a year before Kingsbury. He went 3-13 and he got fired. Yeah, there was another controversial roughing the passer penalty. If by chance you missed it and you've missed the first 40 minutes of this show, well, go find it, take a look at it, and then vote in our poll question. Which roughing the passer call was worse? Grady Jarrett on Brady or Chris Jones on Derek Carr?
I got the last tight end to score.
And?
Jimmy Giles.
Really? With the Tampa Bay Bucks?
Correct.
Wow.
Yep. On October 20th, 1985.
I'm curious who threw him those passes. Was it Steve Young? Chris Chandler? Vinny was still at Miami, so it wasn't him. Anyway, the baseball division series get underway later today. American League, by the way, is going to be on TBS.
Very funny.
Seattle and Houston at 3:30. Cleveland and the Yankees at 7:30. Bob Costas calling the Yankees series on TBS. He hasn't called the playoff series in over 20 years. National League Division Series, couple of, ironically, division rivals. At 1 o'clock on Big Fox, Phils and Braves. And at 9:30 on FS1, Padres and Dodgers. Julio Urias, Clayton Kershaw, your game 1 and 2 starters for Los Angeles. Speaking of the Phillies, they took the interim tag off their manager, Rob Thompson. He's got the job for 2 more years. And the Giants, technically they hired a new general manager, but he answers to the president who's running the show. But Pete Putila, who was an assistant GM of the Astros, now the GM of the San Francisco Giants, because the GM of the Giants went to go to be the Grand Poobah of the Tigers. And ready or not, here we come. The National Hockey League gets underway in the States tonight on ESPN. Cue the theme song. The Lightning and the Rangers in a rematch of the conference finals in New York at 7:30. And then Las Vegas and the LA Kings get it on at 10 o'clock. Sean McDonough, I believe, in New York. Steve Levy in Los Angeles with the calls. As Joe Buck pointed out last night, 2 guys who once had the job he now has.
Yes. And all things being equal, I wish Joe would go back to Fox and we could have someone else other than Sean McDonough do hockey for us. I'll make that trade right now. Sorry, Joe. Sean McDonough sucks at hockey. This just in.
I'm not a fan.
He's
I'm
not
not
good.
a fan. Not a
And I
fan.
like him as an announcer. I think he does a nice job. He's not a good hockey announcer.
He's a tremendous college basketball announcer. He's a tremendous baseball announcer. You and I just think he does hockey like he does baseball. But now, John Forsland, so
why would you hire him?
Right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was...
That was the starting five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So there you have it. Just one game last night in the major North American sports world. And fortunately, it was worthy of all the attention. And then a controversy along with it.
On all fronts. Unbelievable game, lots of excitement. The superstars score, and there's some drama on top of it. So gives us a lot to talk about on a Tuesday, as it is the beginning of the National Hockey League season. We'll give our preview at 10:01.
Stop it. Come on now. I mean,
the show ends at 10.
I know.
Behind that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Every time we talk hockey, one of the two of us thinks back to the one time that an ESPN consultant listened to our tape, and he raved about our tape, except for saying, at 5:20, you guys did a segment on the NHL. What the world were you doing?
What is the matter with you? So again, our hockey preview will be at 10:01 this morning. Right after David and I cut the promo for tomorrow's show.
Maybe we'll do it during a commercial break on Twitch.
Ooh, I like that.
There you go.
Miller and Moulton, the NHL preview coming up on Twitch. Time to subscribe now. Thanks for listening. David Samson coming up next hour on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So yeah, 4 tight ends in NFL history to score 4 touchdowns in a game. Jimmy Giles, Travis Kelce. Can you guess the other 2?
Well, if it was before 85, the answer is no.
Right. It'd be tough. Kellen Winslow
Okay, that was someone had that in the Twitch chat room.
and Mike Ditka.
Okay. You got to play?
I mean, that I was thinking the Adams touchdown. It was really nice, but
I think you got to do one of the Kelce touchdowns.
or maybe the 4th Kelce touchdown.
4th Kelce touchdown. Great, Adam. It's a great question.
It is a great question. The answer is no.
But it'll be yes today when he lands because it's probably what'll go on the car first. Ooh, no, baseball playoffs will be on. He'll be fine in the baseball game.
Oh, I don't know though. I land by the time I get in the car, it'll be close to dropping the puck at the
Oh, you don't get
Garden.
it till late?
Yeah, I don't
No
get
direct
that.
flights?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, officially, the first A-hole moment of the show was 6:58.
And that's going to happen a lot.
Because
How many connections? 4 or 5? To get to that?
oh, you know I refuse to be on more than 2 planes.
That's going to limit when you can get home because there's not a lot of directs, even out of Atlanta to Jackson. How many flights a day are there from Atlanta to Jacksonville?
There's at least 4.
Okay.
But there's not as many as there was to Fort Myers. But yes, that's one of the things that I found that we've talked about is flying in and out of Southwest Florida, many more direct flights to many more American cities than doing so out of Jacksonville. And so it is not convenient at all.
How far is Orlando's airport from Jacksonville?
A good 2 hours.
Okay.
Especially since the airport's like 20 minutes south of downtown.
Right. I just didn't know if there's ever a time going west that it's worth you driving there.
Well, fortunately,
everywhere, isn't there, pretty much?
Yeah, fortunately, I'm going direct usually after a college game.
Right.
So usually I can get to Atlanta. Like we're going to be in Knoxville after the game. I'll get to Atlanta. I'll fly direct Atlanta to LA next week. It's 5 glorious hours, but
what do you think? This year for the Rangers to make a deep run? A little deeper than last year?
I think if they get Patrick Kane, yeah. I think that they're one more scorer away. Remember against the Lightning, the reason they lost was they couldn't score 5-on-5. They need to be better at even strength. But they got the young D and they got the goalie. I've not introduced myself, Paul.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton. here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, on this Tuesday after a thrilling, controversial, down to the final seconds Monday Night Football game. Chiefs over the Raiders 30-29. Many a controversial call. One benefited the Raiders, one went against them. I'm telling you, it was a bogus, just phantom call early fourth quarter when the Chiefs missed a field goal, up one, and it kept the drive alive, and they would score a touchdown, and turned out to be the winning points of the game, which Mark goes back to. We've spent a lot of time talking about the roughing the passer, but has the game gotten to the point where it really needs to adopt what Belichick has wanted for a decade?
You know, for the longest time, I never poo-pooed it. I just thought it was too hard to implement. I just thought the idea of it, while it sounded easy, was never going to be made that easy. And now, David, after seeing this and seeing back-to-back roughing the passer calls that were bogus, it's hard for me to argue the point anymore. I still think it would be challenging to implement, but it's got to be better than where we're at right now.
And Belichick has advocated for 10 years that everything should be reviewable, that you do it like you do tennis, that you only get a certain number of challenges, but that there's nothing you can't challenge. Because as he pointed out then, and many of us are now agreeing with, you don't know the play and you don't know the call. That could be the one that changes the game. But it was another thrilling week, though, for the league. I mean, you know, Mark, I don't know if I saved it, but, you know, there are stats about just how good, okay, the first part of the league has been in terms of how close the games have been. Basically, and I'll try to find the actual statistics. All right. Here we go. Including last night, 49 games decided by 8 or fewer points. All right. 62 within 8 points in the fourth quarter, both the most through week 5 in NFL history. 39 games now decided by 6 points or less, also the most through week 5 in NFL history. 28 have now been decided by 3 points or less, tying the most number of games through week 5 in NFL history.
And those are all great stats. But I will say week 5, one of those 3-point games was the Colts Broncos. I mean, you're going to give me the good. At least I'm going to. One of the 7 points games that we had, that they're bragging about these games under 8 points now, that we've developed a must 2-point conversion that is committed or converted rather at 50% of the time. But apparently in their rules, it's made every single time. So we've gone to an 8-point deficit, not a 7 points deficit. But one of those 7-point games was the Texans and the Jaguars that set football back 25 years. I thought the week of football, NFL-wise, was not very good. Last night was terrific. Sunday night was good. I don't think that game was fantastic. It was a close game.
Right. And it is true. Those numbers just detail the closeness of the games. They don't represent necessarily the quality of the games. But also, by the way, since the Chiefs were at one point down 17 and came back to win, that is now the 10th time so far through 5 weeks that a team has been down 14 or more points in a game to come back and win. That's the second most comebacks of that margin in league history through 5 weeks.
And the Raiders are responsible for that twice because they've blown 2 17-point leads already this season.
And Josh McDaniels off to a 1-4 start with a team that won 10 games and made the playoffs, and went out and got Chandler Jones and Devontae Adams and Right. Mm-hmm.
By the way, the win probability numbers for the Raiders basically didn't change. I mean, your point earlier about going for 2 there, which I didn't have a problem with, basically it was the percentages were less than 0.5% of winning, kicking the extra point versus going for 2. Now, I don't know if that's what you were getting. That's the graphic I just saw.
No, because the way, and I'll try to explain this where this isn't too behind the curtain. So the way we differentiate as to whether something is a go, a stop, or a toss-up is it more than 51 to 49%? To us, a toss-up, and when I say us, I mean ESPN, but this was also the same criteria that we used when I was at Fox, when analytics were brought in. If something is within 2 percentage points, say 50.7 to 49.3, that's a toss-up. Anything within 51 to 49 is a toss-up. Anything below 49 is a stop. Don't go. Whether it's kick, punt, whatever, but do not go for it. Anything above 51%, anything more than giving you more than a 2% chance to win if you go for it is considered a go. At least that's the criteria that we use. And believe me, okay, I was all over the analytics people going, is this 2-point conversion a go? Yes or no? And of course, analytics said both fourth quarter 2-point conversions were the right plays. The Chiefs up 7. Instead of kicking the extra point, they went for 2 to try to lead by 9. Analytics said that was the right play, Andy. And then Josh McDaniels touchdown cuts it to 1, 4:27 to play. And analytics does take the time into the equation, which they should. And analytics also said, at least ours did, that going for 2 was the right play.
And I had no problem with the Raiders going for 2 with 4.5 minutes left. I would have kicked the extra point if I was Kansas City. I would force a team to score and get the 2-point conversion. And analytics are dead set against that. Up 7, the play is to go for 2. That's just a fact from an analytics standpoint, David.
Well, isn't that the reverse of what we've seen, which is you're down 14 and you score to cut it to 8, and the analytics tell you to go for 2? To try to cut it to 6. So, I have to admit, I think every situation is different, and that while the analytics to me can be a good guide, that the reason why normally I'm for the underdog on the road going for 2, although I'm in favor of it with about 27 seconds left, not 4:27 left. But to me, what analytics can't take into account was that the Chiefs had a backup kicker, a guy they literally hired off the street, who had missed 2 of his 3 field goals attempts in the game. And so to me, it was not the Raiders kicker who's made 37 field goals in a row. This was not Tucker of the Ravens. To me, the Chiefs kicking a field goal was not a guarantee. In fact, even attempting it, I didn't think was a guarantee. So I would have kicked the extra point if I were the Raiders. I would have tied it at 30 with 4.5 minutes to go. And I would have stood across from the Chiefs and said, you've scored the last 5 times you've had the ball. I don't think you can make it 6. I dare you.
And I think Mahomes would have gone down and scored.
and he probably would have. I mean, certainly the last
touchdown pass to Kelsey, so he could have 8 catches for 28 yards in the game and 5 touchdowns.
Right. One of the great all-time stat lines. Travis Kelsey, 7 catches, 25 yards, 4 touchdowns. Longest reception of the night, 8 yards.
And as you mentioned now, basically getting in the postseason in the NFL, not basically, it is matter-of-factly a winning record at this point qualifies you for the NFL postseason.
It does right now.
That's the criteria at this point.
Yeah. 5 weeks in, if you have a winning record, you're in the playoffs. Colts at 2-2-1. Sorry, not good enough. We'll see if at the end of the day that week 1 tie against the Texans is going to help or hurt them. It helped the Steelers last year at the end of the day.
Remember, just ask Pat Kirwan, a tie's half a win.
Right.
Our poll question is up. It's wished roughing the passer call was worse. Chris Jones on Carr, Grady Jarrett on Brady. The Jarrett on Brady hit right now is getting 6 of 10 votes. Leading me to believe that all the people who watched the Monday night game may not be out of bed yet.
The referee who made the call was Carl Sheffers, and I know we're a little pressed for time here. The first question he was asked by the media after the game, explain why Chris Jones was called for roughing the passer. His answer, quote, the quarterback is in the pocket and he's in a passing posture. He gets full protection of all the aspects of what we give the quarterback in a passing posture. So when he was tackled, my ruling was the defender landed on him with full body weight. The quarterback is protected from being tackled with full body weight.
He didn't have the ball!
My ruling was roughing the passer for that reason.
But he didn't have the ball.
And
he landed on with the ball. He was a ball carrier at that point.
And Carl Sheffers was asked that in a follow-up question, and he basically said, it doesn't matter.
Don't know how that second part can be true. I don't.
And that's maybe where they alter the roughing the passer rule the way they have altered the concussion protocol in the last 10 to 12 days.
Football fans are angry. They like their violence on Sundays, David, and when they see it getting softer and softer, it is a quick reason for them to complain. We will see how the NFL reacts. David Samson coming up in 25 minutes on Miller and Moulton. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. We did the last catch, the fourth touchdown for play of the day.
Chiefs radio.
Yes.
Kansas City. Probably the best booth in football.
Yeah.
Is the Chiefs booth. It's low. It's at midfield. It's spacious enough.
What I do think's funny is I'm reading a couple of texts of people bashing the NFL. I don't know how much the people who are bashing the NFL watch the NFL. Like they watch highlights and bash, but the numbers are through the roof. Through the roof.
Oh, the ratings. Oh.
Yeah. No, but the product sucks and I don't watch anymore. I love the texts that I get that almost allude to that. Yeah, you do. You watch.
Yeah, you do.
You're watching. Don't know what to tell you.
In fact, I'll bet last night's game does a big number.
Oh, hell yes. Close game at the half. Mahomes is playing. Are you kidding me?
The Chiefs are losing by 10 at the half. Oh, yeah.
No Manning cast. I think that game will be your biggest game. It's not even close.
Well, Chris, it's early yet on your Bengals. They're only a game behind the Ravens. Adam, it is something in which I never understood why it is baseball can't create a dynamic fantasy baseball product. I mean, you got a bunch of home runs. I mean, if you just did home run leagues.
You're not wrong, Adam. Certainly saved all the primetime games, Adam. I think there's a fantasy element to Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night that's a big deal. I think gambling is as well. Why do you wish you could take your eyes off the NFL, Paul? What are you going to watch instead? What's a better sports product out there?
Hell, I would just say better product. What out there, news, documentaries, comedies, entertainment. I mean, and maybe you all start rattling off, Netflix shows and what have you. Okay.
15 seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. David Samson in a little more than 15 minutes time here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL in 40 minutes. Our poll question's been up for over an hour. Yeah, I know. We're shocked too. Which roughing the passer call was worse? The worst one ever Sunday afternoon. Grady Jarrett on Tom Brady. Or one that might be worse last night. Chris Jones on Derek Carr.
Close voting right now. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter or FloridaSportsNetwork.com.
It's why us as broadcasters always have to hesitate, Mark, when that is the best, greatest, worst, most awful thing of all time. And then within 48 hours, it's like, yeah, actually, Yahoo, what just took place was.
Yeah, just keep that one of. That is one of.
There you go.
That's a key 2 words. One of.
That's what I learned a little too late when I, did my columnist days. I always felt like you had to be, strong, no waffle, no room for, margin of error. Got to put that opinion out there. And you were the one that said to me, yeah, you gotta give yourself a little wiggle room every now and then.
But back-to-back bogus roughing the passer calls will have not just us, but I think most of the football world talking about this for the next couple of days. What, if anything's going to be done by Goodell and the league?
Well, here, by the way, is evidence of when you actually put something in place to correct a problem, and do you, in fact, make it worse? Teddy Bridgewater and the Dolphins. Why was Teddy Bridgewater not allowed back into the game? It wasn't because they ruled he had a concussion. All right. It was because the person up in the booth who thought they saw Teddy stagger. And they radioed down and said, yeah, he can't go back in. All right. He staggered for a short moment. So doesn't matter what test you guys did, he can't come back in the game. Well, there's now video of the play in question. Teddy gets up fine. And he, in fact, gives 2 thumbs up. Referee comes over. He gives him a thumbs up. One of his teammates asks him how he's doing. He gives him a thumbs up. There was no stagger. This was not Tua against Buffalo or Cincinnati.
But, and you're right, everything you said's right. I'm not arguing with a single thing you said. But you throw into the equation Joe Burrow's podcast last week where he talked about that I've played half of games that I don't remember. That you're trained to essentially lie about how you feel. That's what Joe Burrow said. And I think that is put into the whole equation as well. I think that they erred last week on the side of caution by eons.
But they literally, Mark, obviously not intentionally, I don't believe. But the eye in the sky guy who radioed down and said, hey, man, he staggered for a step or two. Okay, he's not 100%. He was wrong. Okay, the old adage, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Well, in this case, it was his lying eyes. Teddy Bridgewater did not stagger at all. At all. He got up slowly and was like, man, that was a hard hit. Referee talked to him. You okay? Gave him a thumbs up. Referee kept walking. He's good. So, that's, hey, we have the best intentions. We've changed our concussion protocols. I mean, Mike McDaniel is now saying Teddy Bridgewater's in the concussion protocols. Does he have a concussion? No. And by the way, no video evidence that he had a concussion. So, A, he couldn't come back in the game, which obviously hurt the Dolphins' chances of winning greatly. And B, his status for this week, who the heck knows? He has an imaginary concussion.
Wonder what you can get out of with that. I mean, your mom had an imaginary brain tumor that kept her out of work for a day.
for a day. She called in. She said, I have a brain tumor. She did say there's a good chance I'll be back tomorrow.
So, I mean, I do remember that story, but I don't know if a fake concussion has any positive repercussions for you and get you off of a day of work.
But I mean, I'm sorry, Mark. I mean, WSVN has the video from Miami. All right. The league should honestly be able to correct this in 8 seconds. They have the video. It's on Twitter, for goodness sakes. I'm sorry.
Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. It comes from last night. We just had to pick one of the Kelsey touchdowns because he had 4.
Burton, the fullback, offset eye. Edwards-Helaire, the tailback. 24-23 Chiefs. First down and goal to go at the 1. They're going to throw it. Near side it is. Caught! Touchdown! Kansas City! Travis Kelce. 1, 2, 3, 4 touchdown receptions. This time on a play-action fake.
4 touchdowns. Seems like that's a pretty good game.
It's a Monday Night Football record. I know that.
Only 3 other tight ends have caught 4 touchdowns in a game. Jimmy Giles, Kellen Winslow, and Mike Ditka have accomplished the feat as tight ends.
So in other words, 3 Hall of Famers and Jimmy Giles. Although I believe he's a Bucks Ring of Honor guy.
That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. Check them out, Seaside Bar and Grill, for the Dolphins watch parties. Ooh, those aren't going to be as joyous this week as they've been, David.
Well, also, they don't know who they're going to be watching at quarterback.
They may need that Bloody Mary bar. Often.
Might have to start early. Oh, the 4-1 Vikings come to town.
Big one for Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Think about how differently people would feel if they were 2-2, having lost to the Bills. But then they beat the Jets, and they're 3-2. 1-1 in the division. Or 2-1 in the division, sorry. Think about how differently people would feel. The numbers are exactly the same. They're 3-2 in the standings. They're 2-1 in the division. And they're freaking out.
And the Dolphins home underdogs this week, right?
3-point underdog to Miami. At least that's where it started. I've not checked the line since it's open. If anything, it'll go up, depending on what we hear from the quarterback situation.
That's Vegas clearly saying we do not expect Tua to play. The information that we have says he ain't playing. I think you'll know all you need to know tomorrow. Who's practicing?
Our poll question is up. Which roughing the passer call was worse? Chris Jones on Carr, Grady Jarrett on Brady. Right now, it's very close. 54% to 46% say the Brady call was more bogus. If Brady wasn't the person in it, it would completely be the other way.
And if you missed the Chris Jones on Derek Carr from last night, give yourself a moment. Go find it and then make your vote accordingly.
We will talk the playoffs, baseball style, on the other side. David Samson for his weekly appearance on Miller and Moulton. He'll be with us through the baseball playoffs. We'll find out his thought on the wild card playoffs and what he thinks in the divisional round coming up next, right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, Adam, there's no way the NFL wants to. I can't see the NFL ever having a rule where you sit out more than 1 week. By the way, is it 60? I always thought it was 30 if you got knocked out in boxing. I disagree with you, bad golfer. If they were going to make them sell, they would have ruled differently 2 months ago when they had their ruling about everything that took place. I'm going to ask him about the Packers-Giants game.
Do you care if I follow up with the Goodell comment that they want a division over there? I mean, that to me is in his wheelhouse. Morning, David.
Hello.
Did you get some rest?
No, I just landed last night from London, and I went to bed at 12:30 because I'm the type who has to unpack, do laundry, and do everything before I can go to bed after a trip. And then I was staring at the ceiling at 2:10.
Wow.
It's normal. Just another Tuesday for me. How you guys doing? How are things going? There's still horrific cleanup, right?
Oh, yeah. I went
It's
down
gonna be
to
years.
It is. It really is. It's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to take several years. I mean, Fort Myers Beach, most of it's gone. In Fort Myers Beach, it's a pretty big island. And there are large portions of blocks, I mean, like 4 or 5 city blocks that were just wiped out.
Where the houses, it's not like you can even see the rebar. Like they're literally just gone.
There
Like
was
a
one
bomb went
section.
off.
Yeah, there was one section where the surge picked up what looked to be like a whole block and pushed every house into the back bay. I've never seen anything like it.
Were they intact?
Yeah, some of them
So
were
could
intact.
could you like go to where they were to get some of your stuff? Does that make sense? Like, were they above
Possibly,
water?
possibly if it was spared by the water.
Think about that. Like, you're canoeing to your house, which is a mile away from where it was, trying to get some stuff of yours. It's a nightmare.
And then you got people trying to, down there trying to steal and loot right now, and you've got all of that. But I mean, already what they've done to get people on Pine Island and what they're doing on Sanibel, it's heroic efforts to get these bridges done. I mean, that they've avoided a lot of BS, and they're just
be surprised what kind of red tape goes away when you can't.
Right.
When people can't get home.
David, were you in Miami during Andrew?
No, that
Okay.
was in 91.
92. I think.
92. I didn't move to Miami until 02.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say it was like Andrew bad.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
had a friend of mine, and because I've got my real estate license, the guy I hang my license with, and he was with one of his clients who was in a penthouse in Naples, and they're wondering if the building's structurally sound. I think that's after Seaside and Miami, David, all of these storm surges that hit all these big condos. If you're an insurance company, you're not letting anybody back into that until you're told that building's safe.
10 seconds.
People
guys.
can't. People can't even get insurance.
Right.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL at the top of the hour. Usually when we bring David Samson on, he of the terrific daily podcast, Nothing Personal with David Samson, also talks baseball for CBS Sports HQ. And David, as always, thanks for joining us. But we want to talk about your last 4 or 5 days. You went across the pond to take in the Packers-Giants game. Well, do tell us, what was it like?
So I just finished recording Nothing Personal, and I covered two things in detail. One was Tom Brady and the way he's treated, which maybe we can talk about, maybe we can't. Two was the NFL in London. Couple of things of note. Number one, couldn't find a Jaguars fan. Not one anywhere in London. Two, anecdotally, I did my own research, spoke to a bunch of local people. Granted, most of them were in pubs, but there were some people working security museums and some people just randomly on the street. 70% did not know there was an NFL game going on this weekend, but they had noticed that there were more people wearing green. Weren't sure why. Okay, I can understand. It's the Green Bay Packers against the New York Giants. But the NFL so badly wants to move a team to London. How are they going to do it when the local people do not care? You have to count on tourists flying there the way I did 8 different times to watch the same team or to watch a different road team in theory. I thought the quality of the game was fine. I liked the 2:30 start, which was the local time. I thought that the intensity of the game was decent. I thought the Packers were mediocre. But what really struck me about the time in London, A, is if you don't look right, you're going to get run over. And that's a major problem. But B, MLB and the NFL have tried so hard to get a toehold into the London market, and I understand why. It's new untapped revenue, but it is not working.
Okay, I'm glad that that's where you went, David, because the commissioner, Roger Goodell, in an interview was asked about a team in London and said, well, we don't think we could do a team, but we would have to do a division. And maybe London would support 2 teams. And he didn't get into cities, which leads to a lot of different directions in that. But first and foremost, do you think that that's a viable option, or was that the commissioner paying lip service trying to get this London game to continue?
Yeah, it's just lip service. And the London game will continue as long as there's the local promoter who's going to make sure that the NFL is making money, and the broadcasters love it. It's an extra game. It's a 9:30 a.m. East Coast game, right? 6:30 a.m. West Coast, not ideal. Ideally, you'd play it a little later if possible, but you don't want it to go into the window of the regular 1 o'clock games and the pregame. So it's sort of tight what they're doing. But again, what they're trying to do in London, the flying time from New York when you're going east was 5 hours and 50 minutes. That was the flying time. Forget going to the gate and getting there early and going through customs and all the stuff, waiting online. When you travel by charter the way the NFL players do, you are right on the plane, you're taxiing, you're going. 5:50 flying time is shorter than flying west to California. That's one. 2, flight when you're coming west after the game. Flying time last night, 7 hours, 12 minutes. It's not like you're flying in coach. These players can sleep, they can play cards, they can watch movies. And the whole thing with jet lag, I'm not buying it. Jet lag is something that's completely in your head. And maybe it's because I travel a lot, but these NFL players, athletes have strange schedules. Baseball players are up till 3, 4 in the morning, and they sleep till noon. It's like they have permanent jet lag during the course of a regular season, even players with families. The reason why the NFL will not have 2 teams in London or a division in London is they won't be supported locally.
He's David Samson. His daily podcast, Nothing Personal with David Samson. He's also part of the CBS Sports HQ family. You can follow him on Twitter, David, the letter P, Samson, David P. Samson. All right. I know you were overseas for it.
I watched it.
How do you think the wild card round went? 3 sweeps, 1 3-game series, but 3 of the road teams advance. Your thoughts on our first best of 3 wild card?
I'm despondent that the Rays are out for myriad reasons. 1, I love you guys in the show and your audience. 2, the Rays have a better chance of beating the Yankees than the Guardians. Although I love you, Giancarlo. But here's the thing with playoffs. It doesn't matter what happens during the regular season. If you run into a buzzsaw pitching performance, the way the Mets did in Game 3 with Joe Musgrove, the way the Rays did really the whole 2 games with the Guardians, it's not that the Rays can't hit. And I know that's the knee-jerk reaction that fans are going to have. They just ran into a pitcher who is better than them. And in a short series, that's how quick it can end. And that's why owners were so reticent to have these short series. They don't want to win 100 games and then only get 1 game. And so Major League Baseball said, okay, how about a 2 out of 3? And the owner said, all right, we got the votes for that. Steve Cohen is not too happy today, having won 101 games, and he basically, in a matter of 36 hours, 48 hours, 70 hours, I didn't do the math, he's out of the playoffs. Done. So what you're trying to do is make sure your division winners, that there's a premium. All right, the Cardinals won their division, and they're eliminated too. So I think what Major League Baseball should do, and when they do expansion, they will, get rid of divisions, just seed the teams. If you want 12 playoff teams, do it 1v12, 2v11. If you want to give buys to the 2 best teams, you can, maybe. But I just think that the advantage is so to the better pitching that when you're building your team for the playoffs, just have pitching.
You know, we used to end the season on the weekend. Monday was for the one-day playoff. We started the playoffs on Tuesday. Did baseball make a mistake? Because, David, you know, they went Friday, Saturday, Sunday with this. I watched all day Friday. I loved it. Saturday comes, there's this little thing going, college football, which is my favorite sport. I watched college football. I started now Sunday night, I watched Mets Padres. I missed a whole day of game 2. Instead of going Tuesday, Wednesday, and yeah, on Thursday, game 3, you're going up against the NFL. But you know what? It's on Amazon Prime, for crying out loud. At some point, don't you have to just pull your bootstraps up and say, we're going to fight, instead of just cowering down to the NFL on every single occasion?
You mean the fact that this year's World Series, there's no Sunday games? Are you referring to that change of schedule in the World Series? So we would talk about this all the time inside the commissioner's office and in our front offices. What do you do when you fight the same person over and over again and you lose every time, no matter what you try? At what point do you give up the fight? At what point do you just take care of yourself and your own schedule, what's convenient for you, what's good for you, and you don't worry about the traffic, right? You don't change your whole life to avoid traffic, or you don't change your whole life for something. Major League Baseball has said to themselves, there's certain things that we are going to adjust. World Series, we're not going to play on a Sunday. But when it comes to the early rounds of the playoffs, they're working hand in hand with the broadcaster. They're figuring out where ESPN and where Fox and where TBS are going to work the games in. They figure out who's playing in what time slot because it's what the broadcasters want. And I got to tell you, I'm very sorry, Mark. The people like you, and there's a lot of you who choose NFL or choose college, at some point, there's nothing we can do, and we're going to try to build the fan base as best as we can, but we're going to have people of your age, of your demographic, who we're going to move on and try to get younger.
All 4 division series get underway today. The American League Series is on TBS. The National League Series is on the Fox family of networks. Phillies, Braves, Padres, Dodgers today at 1 and 9:30. Seattle, Houston at 3:30. Cleveland and the Yankees at 7:30. If 3 of the 4 road teams, underdogs, if you will, won in the best of 3 wild card round between Philadelphia, San Diego, Seattle, and Cleveland, how much of a shot do you give any of those 4 to knock off the 4 with buys?
I think it's going to be very difficult. I think if you're smart, you pick the 4 favorites to win the series. But if I see an upset anywhere, you have to go where the pitching is. Now, if the Padres pitch the way they did, and you can have Snell and Clevenger here in game 1, you'd have to give them a chance. The Dodgers have the most holes of any 110-win team I've ever seen. But who would think the Dodgers could possibly lose? It makes no sense. But that's a possibility. The Yankees, they're just a question mark. Their pitching's a question mark. And they can say that they've got Aaron Judge. They can say that Stanton may get hot, and he may. But their lineup, as I said, the Rays had a better chance. But I was impressed with the Guardians. They're a sneaky team like the Marlins of 03, where no one's talking about them, but they've been good for a while. And they play the kind of baseball that can win in the playoffs. Those are the 2 best chances of what you would call a big upset. Braves-Phillies, to me, is a complete overmatch, just in every possible way. I think the Braves continue to be the best team left and the best team and the best chance to defend in over 20 years. But it's going to be exciting. And, Mark, are you going to watch all 4 games today?
I will be locked in. I can't say how much of Padres-Dodgers I will watch. It starts at 9:37 with a 4 o'clock wake-up call. I can't say I'll make the entire last game. But, I'm an old guy now. I'm excited for 1 o'clock baseball, David. Are you kidding me?
I can't wait. But are you not willing to do what I do, which is October? Well, it's easy for me because I don't sleep a lot. But are you not willing to say that you're just going to be tired in October? Like, can't you just lean into that reality?
I will do my best. The only problem is that about 11:30 on the couch, I don't have your ability. I don't have the insomniac quality. That sometimes the couch just, the insomniac just doesn't happen. I wish it did.
So is it this time of year when you're caught sleeping on the couch more than other times a year?
In fact, my daughter called me out. She says, "Daddy, you fell asleep on the couch again last night because I could hear you snore." That's what I get in my household.
Well, we've got 2 West Coast games. Obviously, the Padres, Dodgers. I have not seen the schedule, so I'm totally making this up. But I would assume you're going to see them late night the entire series.
9:30 tonight on FS1. David, what I think you're proving is you're a little tougher than the 2 of us. We usually pick days. Like if Mark goes all in on 4 games on Tuesday, it'll be an early night on Wednesday. All right. I think we're a little older than you. We're not in as good a shape. We can't do the day in, day out playoff grind that you can. However, David, the 2 of us with playoff hockey, if it goes overtime, we're always in. Always.
There is nothing more exciting. This used to drive people I worked with crazy because you do these team building games when the front office is doing things. You talk to players. What is the most exciting thing for you in sports? And everyone's supposed to say, like your interns and your VPs, everyone's supposed to say baseball or bottom of the 9th, a walk-off grand slam or whatever the case is. To me, it's the easiest question I've ever been asked. The most exciting thing in sports is overtime in Game 7 in the NHL playoffs. There is nothing more exciting than that. Period. Hard stop. I love the hockey playoffs.
And the hockey season gets underway in the States tonight. In New York, All right. So the Rangers at the Garden and the Yankees at home at the same time. Lightning and Rangers at 7:30. Vegas and the Kings at 10 o'clock. Very quickly. So you don't think that the major pro sports leagues in North America are ever going to have a franchise in Europe, that they're just going to take the one-off money, but that it's just not doable?
Well, never say never. And it's absolutely doable, but the economics don't work for me. Because I don't know how you can, in baseball, say that you will draw fans 88 for 81 home games. I just don't see that happening. Football, it is all, I'm telling you, I was just there. It was the first time I had done it. It was all people who had flown over. At least 75% to 80% in that stadium yesterday had flown over to be a part of something cool and to walk around and meet tourists and make it like a trip of a lifetime. But if you have 8 games and it's a team, let's say it's called the London, Clock Towers, you have to draw from London. And I just don't see how anyone will do it absent sort of a Marty McFly time machine. I just don't know how you're going to get it to happen. People there, they love football, but it's the soccer type.
David Samson, the daily podcast, which has already been recorded this morning. Nothing Personal with David Samson. Also, he can be seen on CBSSports.com and CBS Sports HQ. Follow him on Twitter, David P. Samson, David the letter P. Samson. David, thanks for doing this, whether you have jet lag or not.
See you later.
David Samson, former president of the Marlins, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton.
Chastised for not staying up.
Right.
And he's right. That's the problem that I have with that. I've got no rebuttal. I have to start doing push-ups in the middle of the night to get myself awake. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan coming up next. See what he'll chastise us about. I'm sure it'll be something. We'll rough the passer on the other side. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Shit, Pat's already there. Hey,
Hello.
Pat.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I was watching David reading his phone.
Yep, I ran down to the restroom during the break. You were on nice and early. I love it.
Hey.
We'll probably talk. We might bring up roughing the passer today, Pat. I just want to give you a little heads up.
I had a feeling. I mean, to guess. Let me guess here. Yeah. Did you think either one of you, both of you, did you think Adams had it both feet down when he caught that ball at the end? They called incomplete.
No,
No,
I thought his slight bobble, so that he only had the 1 foot down.
Did you see the slight bobble before slow motion?
No.
That's my point. I'd like to go back to the 60s and throw out a lot of receptions when we didn't have all that technology. That's the old 100 guys in a bar thought that was a catch.
Well, live you did.
Yeah, which is kind of the way we should be talking about it. There's always a bobble on a ball. You want to go slow enough, you can find movement that doesn't exist to the naked eye. But God forbid if we actually tried to get that right. What's a catch? I don't know. Anyway, what else is going on, fellas?
Boy, did you get that video I sent you? Did you see that? Did someone?
Yes.
Holy cow! I guess from talking to Johnny Mack, because he moved, he's up in Ohio. But from talking to him the other day, texting, sounds like you guys are going to be out of commission for a while there.
Yeah, my wife's going November 1st, and I think, well, she's working on the car all week about getting the car out of there and getting it totaled, all that stuff. So, but I think it looks to me like I'll go down November 6th now. I just finished all my flights. I have 15 round trip flights. Oh, I'm so excited.
So are you down just for the day, or are they going to give you the weekend off?
No weekends. I know. I go Sunday night to Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The 6th is a Sunday. My bad.
Yeah, so I have the night flight, and then I leave on Saturday morning and get up here.
Does she pick you up at the airport, or you Uber back to your place?
Once I'm in the cycle, Mark, where I'm leaving every Saturday morning and coming back Sunday night, I just leave the car in the parking garage.
Okay.
I'm only in there like 26 hours or something. And when I get in at midnight, I don't really want her picking me up.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's just easy. The first one, she's got to pick me up, and then I have my car, and I can also my 6 a.m. flight on Saturday morning. Occasionally, I see David there as he's getting ready to go to a college game. He's usually on Delta, and I'm over on United. But then I just drive up, park in the garage, go in, take the flight, come back the next night. And when COVID came, as you guys, I'm sure know, there were no drivers for the car service coming. So people were waiting 2 hours and no cars were coming. Can't wait to get there.
20 seconds.
All right.
What's up, Pat? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm enjoying the fall up here, though. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I'm jealous.
Hey, what was worse, the Brady or the car roughing the passer?
The Brady or the car?
That's our poll question.
They're both horrible.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the 8 o'clock hour. Final hour of the show in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. We are halfway home for those in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan, kind enough to join us once again. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, weekday afternoons with Jim Miller, and he's also part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, many points in between. Pinchers picking up the pieces, but you can't fake fresh. Good morning, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing fine, fellas, and I bet there's a couple of controversial questions you're going to ask me, and I bet you we share the same opinion on a couple of things that are really starting to annoy me, but they never get better, and they're not going to get better because the NFL will not pick up the phone and say, "Pick up the flag, please." We're going to have to carry all these mistakes over for days.
Well, David pointed out at the beginning of the show, they changed the concussion protocol here pretty quickly. Why wouldn't they get on the officials about these? These are two blatantly awful roughing the passer calls. One involving Tom Brady in the in the 1 o'clock window that we got to see all day. Another one on Monday night. They're really going to just keep on keeping on, Pat?
They always do. Whether they called it a point of emphasis to the officials or not, I'm sure the officials are trying to make sure they're not the guy when the quarterback gets hurt. So now we have this completely ridiculous look at football. It's really hurting the game now. The guy who loves football is really starting to question what game is left out there. And so this whole thing about body weight on him, which is the Chris Jones example, the guys who invent that rule have never tried to twist and turn their body. You can't. You're on your way down and you're trying to get the ball at the same time. Now you're supposed to take your body and divert it like a plane and fly over there somewhere. It's so stupid, but we're dealing with it. I talked to Todd Bowles yesterday because he's involved, or at least his quarterback was the beneficiary of one. He chuckled and said, "Yeah, I coach defense. It's really hard to coach defense right now." So he kind of, in his own way, acknowledged, "I don't know about that call."
Pat, what's interesting, though, is that at least according to John Perry, who's ESPN's in-game official and former referee, he thought Chris Jones actually tried as much as gravity would allow him to not have his full weight fall on Carr by extending his left arm and trying to have as much of his weight as possible fall on his arm instead of Carr's body. I guess what I'm wondering, Pat, is if they did what Belichick has wanted for 10 years, if they just gave you a certain number of challenges, but you could challenge anything, do you think those two roughing the passer calls would have been overturned?
No, because the official on the field, especially in the Chris Jones case, was very clear in the post game that he thought that was a guy slamming his body weight. So would they have looked at it any different? No, because at the end, the biggest problem is the NFL still wants the official on the field to be totally in charge. They're rarely going. They have a command center. Do you ever see them use it?
Well, they do. They used it last night in overturning a touchdown and ruling a guy down at the half-yard line. They stepped in the Tampa Bay Atlanta game twice and within 20 seconds said, "Yeah, we're actually changing this. First down."
Yeah, those are easy for them because there's no attack on quarterbacks. Oh, no. His needs to move the ball back. Those are easy. When it gets to protecting it or quote unquote unprotecting the quarterback, now they're into a political area, and especially since Tua's concussion, they're going to tie all this together, and they're not going to rule in the side of good football.
Speaking of the Dolphins, they obviously had Teddy Bridgewater go out, and he wasn't concussed because of the new rule. They are playing a third-string quarterback. They lose to the Jets. I mean, Pat, the new rule backfired on the team that it was set up to help.
Well, we all know that there's always a quick overreaction. That's what's going on here. They still haven't addressed, to my satisfaction, the team physician who had final say in the first one. But here we go. Now we're going to be into just what I said. I think you guys said it too. When in doubt, leave him out. That's what we're up to. The guy staggers at all, and they're going to say, no, he's out. No matter what happens, there's no reason to put him in the protocol. If he staggers and that's viewed by somebody, he's not playing. You can pass the protocol 6 times in a row. You're not playing. That's the world we're in now.
Pat, the problem, though, for the NFL in this specific incident is he didn't stagger. There's clear video from literally a local TV crew who's standing on the end zone sideline, and they have it. He didn't stagger. It's the old adage, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? The eye in the sky person got it wrong.
Well, they also told us the border's secure. So what do you want to do here?
Well, I didn't see us going there.
There was a
Wow.
left-hand turn I didn't expect, Pat.
Wow.
Holy Toledo.
Well, I have a hard time with people that say, I saw this, I didn't see that. They're not going to fool around. And to me, I talked to a doctor yesterday who said, you could stagger from an ankle injury. Oh, by the way, Sunday morning at 6 a.m., I read 8 pages of notes on ataxia. And you know what I didn't find in 8 pages? Concussion. The word's not in there. It's not related to it. So I asked the doctor, I said, why did they pull this rabbit out of a hat? He goes, well, it's kind of a big umbrella. It kind of is like, but there's a million reasons why. So ataxia is now attached. And it just means they're going to pull players, and that's going to be it, especially quarterbacks.
All right, let's get to some of the games. I want to start with the Jags. We were talking up the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're playing the Texans. It's a game they have to win. What has happened here? Trevor Lawrence did not look good again in the red zone. A couple of turnovers. They only score 6 points. If you're going to be taken seriously as a football team, you can't lose to the Houston Texans.
No, you can't. So the people that like Houston say things to me like, well, they've been playing people close. It doesn't matter. They're not a team that can win games. But here's my thought. This really goes to David because he's a Giant fan. Trevor Lawrence now has 7 turnovers in the last 2 games. If he was in a Giant uniform, the New York Post and everybody else would be trying to run him out of town. They would be calling him a bust, and they wouldn't give him a moment's notice about, hey, let's give him some time. So Trevor's got to fix Trevor's problems or they're going to keep losing. But I look at him and go, man, this guy's so lucky he's in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes, and so's the head coach, because quite frankly, when you've got a young quarterback, and I mean, last year was as much of a wash as it could be. That's how bad that situation is. And I think he's treating Trevor as if he's already an established quarterback, because they should have been running the ball a lot more than they were in that game. And, here's something to point out, and I got to give Andy Reid credit. Andy Reid's running the football this year. He lost Tyreek Hill. He's adjusted his offense. They're still scoring just as many points. He's just doing it differently. And do you know what got the Chiefs back in the game yesterday? Down 17-0. Running the football got them back in the game.
Yep.
Not throwing it, running it. I don't know why more teams. Look at the Cowboys. They threw for 102 yards, and they won easily. Running the football is how you win.
I totally agree. Bill Cowher went off on that subject, not as strongly as you just did, but he did on Sunday because he's tired of looking at these guys. And then you take a Pickett and you put him on his first start and you ask him to throw the ball 52 times. It doesn't matter if their running game isn't gaining a lot of yards. You can't ask some of these young guys to throw 50 times. Do they even have the offensive line to protect them? No. So it's a disaster. But let's use Doug Peterson. How did Doug Peterson get that job? Did he go in there and say, we're going to run the ball? Or did he go in there and say, I can develop Trevor Lawrence? We know the answer.
Yeah,
okay, but that's fine, Pat. It's fine. It's one way to get the job. It's another thing to be averaging 7 yards a carry and not want to run the football. I mean, this is kind of like analytics run amok. It's when where's the guy over his shoulder saying, the analytics say run the ball because we're averaging 7 damn yards a carry. I mean, at some point.
I agree with you guys. And they have a nice tandem of backs. And they need to protect the quarterback who the week before had the ball stripped out 4 times. So that should have been the message unto itself that we can't keep doing this. Well, they keep listening to analytics. How about, would you punt on 4th and 1, David, Mark, or would you go for it in your own territory?
Well, listen, I so hoped that Cleveland was going to win that game after he did that because
Yes.
I wanted him fired. If I owned the team and we had lost that game, I would have fired him. Fired him.
So I got asked yesterday, what do you think they should do? And I said, I'll ask you a question back. Would Sean Payton have punted there? He'd be real good there.
Yes. And I think it might be a race between the Chargers and the Broncos to get him.
Well, you tell me if you were Sean or Sean's dad or his brother. Are you going to go with as a older quarterback or a young guy that's a superstar? I'll take the Charger job, please.
I'll say this. We keep calling him a superstar. Win a few more games. Thank you. He's 500. Win a few more games.
He doesn't call the 4th down plays for the last.
Well, that is true. His coach is not helping.
Mark is looking at me like, all right, can we go to a break, please?
No. I got to pay attention to where the clocks are. There's more things going on around here. No, I like when you two argue. I enjoy the hell out of it. It's one of my favorite parts of the segment. I just sit back, grab the coffee, and go at it. But, Pat, going forward on 4th down, this is, the loneliest job used to be the kicker that missed. Now it's the punter. There's no value or there's no use for him anymore. All we do is go forward on 4th downs. And until someone gets burnt really badly, until what you guys just talked about, the Chargers losing that game because of a bad 4th down decision, I don't see it changing. And then I don't even know if it's going to change after that because analytics are more in control of this game than they've ever been before.
Yeah. Keenan Allen didn't like that they went for it. Did you see his little note?
Yeah. WTF are we doing is what he tweeted sitting at home watching his team play. His coach goes, yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. More with Pat Kirwan coming up on the other side. We'll get to more teams and more games, we promise. Thanks for listening, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David.
Yes.
Could you do a better job of managing Troy, please? This is my technique with Boomer when I know he's going to a bad place. And everyone laughs, and I go, "Boom, it's Fee. I love you, but this just means don't say another word." Oh,
I'm actually fine with it.
hey, it's juicy for the show. Whose decision was stranger to you? Staley's, who we covered, or Josh McDaniels going for 2 and losing the opportunity to tie the game?
Well, I think Staley's was more reckless, but for the record, Pat, I would not have gone for 2 when I was Andy Reid up 7. I would have kicked the extra point, and I would have kicked the extra point to tie the game with 4:27 to go.
Correct. That's how I see the game too.
And I had no problem with them going for 2 because I don't know if they're going to get the ball back, Pat. That's my only thing there. And I know it's 4:29. There's no guarantee you're getting the ball back.
Well, that's true, but I can at least position myself for overtime.
Yep. No. And I'm not as committed. The Staley thing is grotesque. I was watching that in the real time, and I'm damn near yelling at the television.
We had
Brissett is the quarterback.
Our whole studio was flipping out over that. Yeah. You know, all these guys that do this stuff, they have a litany of excuses they use all the time. Well, I didn't want to force them into 4-down territory. That's my favorite one. You know.
I love how he's trying to spin it. Okay,
Yeah.
he goes for 4th and 1.5 yards, and then he tries to say afterwards, well, the reason I did it was I had so much confidence in my defense. No, actually, you went for it because you thought Jacoby Brissett would drive the ball at least 50 yards and kick a game-winning field goal. I mean, no offense. You got lucky, you dumb blank.
Well, this is 2 weeks in a row where, and I think, Baltimore, the same thing the week before. They really expose they don't believe in their defense.
Right.
They're afraid of that to be a conclusion of their own players. So they start spinning this thing around. So the defensive guys don't sit there and go, they think we stink.
I would love for somebody, sorry, Mark. I would love for somebody in the last year, all the Brandon Staley decisions and all the John Harbaugh decisions. All right. And most of them have backfired.
Yeah. That's pretty sad.
I wish one of them would just be honest and say, in the case, our defense has been out there for 54 snaps in the fourth quarter. At this point in the game, our defense is tired. That's why we went for it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And you know what? When you tell the truth, it goes away. Okay, you can still debate it, but we know the logic of it. But what these guys are doing is wacky.
I mean, all you have to do is look at most of these games. Look at what the scores at halftime. Look at the scores at the end of the game. By the time the fourth quarter comes, it's easier to score.
Look, we're all watching all these games. The fourth quarter is like everything else was shadow boxing. We get to the fourth quarter to take the gloves off and go for each other's throat.
All of a sudden, it's Ali Frazier.
Also, D lines are worn out by the fourth quarter. Worn out. 50 snaps. Do you know what stopped the Raiders yesterday? Running the ball. It slowed Jones and Crosby down.
You're talking to a guy who believes in the running game. But again, we've said this 1,000 times. The reason they got the job because they sold their passing coaching skills.
I know.
Secondly, we don't have 9-on-7 anymore, so no one believes in their run game. They look at Bob Wiley said it best. He goes, and he coached for about 8 different head coaches. He goes, they're all the same. You call a running play on first down, you don't gain a yard. They don't call the running game for the next quarter. They throw a pass on first down, it's incomplete. They come right back and throw another one.
15 seconds.
They just don't see they don't see it the same. They view a run for no yards as a disaster.
Yep. Here we go.
Sad.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Our second segment with Pat Kirwan on this Tuesday. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. He joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, many points in between, some of them battered and bruised, but Pinchers because you can't fake fresh.
Pat, obviously more games to get to than we had. Your thoughts on what the Cowboys are doing and how much it changes from an offensive philosophy when they get Dak back. I mean, they've run the ball incredibly well. They threw for 100 yards. We know that probably isn't the offense when Dak comes back, is it?
Probably not. But they've learned a couple of valuable lessons that they can win with defense. You watch how that defense is playing. They now know we trust that Quinn's got it going on over there to the point where we could win. Not many teams in this league, would I say, can win with defense. Right now, I think they're one of them. Number two, they can't deny that the running game that has been effective should be a bigger part of the equation when Dak gets back. And I think they'll look at Dak and think, we got a play calling system here. You'll enhance it because you can escape and run around and you got a big time arm. But if they don't carry that stuff over, that will be a topic of conversation on this show between the three of us as soon as they don't carry it over. So, Jerry, stay away. Let them just do what they're doing. You don't need to feature Dak, which I often think Jerry likes to do. Just let the coaches coach. And I don't know if it'll happen, but that's what my advice would be.
It's funny, they're running the same offense they ran when Dak took over for Tony Romo when he was a rookie quarterback and they needed to protect him. And it's funny, they went 13-3 that year.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
There is a formula, and it just feeds fuel to your run fire, David. And they have a reason to stick with it, Mark. So I hope they do. But neither guy reacted about and I thought it was a pretty strong statement to say that I think Dallas can win with defense. Do you guys not see it that way?
No, I agree, and I'm quite frankly surprised. I thought that last year's turnover numbers were a bit of a statistical fluke that you couldn't do 2 years in a row. And in fact, with a few different players, Dan Quinn's doing the exact same damn thing. And he's clearly going to be a head coach next year. It's just a matter of where. And the defense, even though they lost some key players, they're performing maybe even at a better level.
Yeah. Be fun to see. Well, Danny will deserve one. He'll do fine if he gets one.
The other side of this is the Rams. Because Matt Stafford got his ass kicked on Sunday. I mean, he got beat up badly. They still don't have weapons. This Rams team has a lot of work to do, Pat.
They sure do. And I don't know if the quarterback will make the season. He's at 21 sacks, I believe. So he's on pace for 71 sacks. He'll never get to 71. He'll be done. And Jimmy Miller's convinced me of this, that arm isn't 100%. And that you start to see him pushing balls and throwing. Yeah, he's always had all these slingy little throws and all these, exotic release points. But right now it looks to me like he's hiding something there.
How about the New York football teams combined 7-3? How much of this is real? And how much of this is, hey, funky things happen during the NFL season. The Jets had 2 miracle comebacks. They caught the Dolphins with largely a third-string quarterback. How much of what you're seeing from the Jets and Giants do you believe in?
Well, it's a great question. I think just start with the Jets. They got a little bit of a running game now. 2-headed monster back there. They're pretty good. Vera Tucker bailed them out when he went out to left tackle. And he's quite good. So they can hang around. I don't see them as strong as I see the Giants. I think when we talk about the Giants, at least up in New York, well, they want to talk about Saquon and they want to talk about Jones. But if you spend a little time on the defense and drill down into some of the things they do on defense, they're like number 2 third down defense. They're number 10 in rushing the passer. They're not doing it with a bunch of big name guys. So I think Phil Simms said this to me the other day. He thinks the Giants would be crazy if they let Daniel Jones go. And he asked me, and I said, 2-year deal. He knows he's getting better under Daboll. There's a 2-year deal at $17 million a year. Let him keep growing, and you might have something here. I would not give up on Daniel Jones at this point. So I do like them a little more. I knew that'd make David happy.
I don't mean to be the negative guy, but the Packers didn't score in the second half. What the hell?
Again, the Giant defense. And how about not running the ball down the goal line and having 2 volleyball blocks in a row? Even Aaron Jones started to have a little chirping. Nobody chirps about Rodgers or the passing game, and all of a sudden we got a running back who, by the way, if you look at that series, on the 2 plays before, they threw the ball 2 times, but he had a 2-yard gain. And run the play again. Do something with the running game, but don't give the quarterback both of them. That I give him one of them, but I wouldn't give him both of them.
Browns or Bengals, which one do you have more faith in to turn this 2-3 around?
The Bengals, because of the quarterback. And I think that guy with his weapons. Look, both teams are going to get behind. I love the running game in Cleveland. Don't get me wrong, but you're asking me to compare Brissett to Burrow. And I will just take Burrow. Now, there's a team, David, to your point. They don't run the ball well, but they run the ball. They went into last week with 84 carries for Mixon at like 2.5 yards a carry. They're going to keep doing it. And that's Cowher's point every week to me. It's about how many times you're willing to do it.
Boy, that's got me watching runs plays a lot differently now since you brought that point up, Pat. And it is something. Look at the good, the Bills got it done, the good teams. What impressed you just out there throwing it up underhand? What impressed you most from week 5?
Well, Buffalo, when you really look at what a machine they are and how many ways they can get you, and they're doing it on defense without their key secondary players. Those safeties manage Sean McDermott and Leslie's defense. They're the disguise guys. They're the guys that are making the adjustments. You all of a sudden go empty. They know all the checks. They can help young corners, which they do all the time. We haven't even seen Tre'Davious yet. So you think about them, they're very impressive to me, and they got after the passer, and they've had a bunch of injuries in the inside of the defensive line. So they're the ones. Now, what a game we have at CBS this week. Buffalo and Kansas City's a home dog. That's hard. Kansas City will not like that spot.
Pat, we got about 2 minutes left. Do you have a problem with what Ron Rivera said yesterday? And for those that don't know, he was asked, hey, the 3 teams above you are, 13-2 and you're 1-4. Why are they ahead of you? And he said, quarterback.
Do I have a problem with it? No, it's a big boy league, and the quarterback is not playing well. But if you want to look at that statement and say, it's my fault, I went and got Wentz, it's the front office's fault, they went and got Wentz. I've given Wentz 5 weeks, and nothing's getting better. Ron, I talked to Ron I talked to him today, as a matter of fact. Last week, he had a strange press conference, too. He had a couple of F-bombs in it. So pressure all over this league for a lot of these coaches that are not delivering, their football team's not delivering. So do I have a problem with it? No. And Wentz should say, I don't have a problem with it because I got to get better. And that solves the whole thing. If he sits there and doesn't say that, well, this thing will fester.
Pat, as always, appreciate your time and your insight. And you're right, Bills, Chiefs, no one will be interested in that game.
No. And what's the one after that? Dallas and Philly?
Right.
From 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, Mark, you will be enjoying yourself.
There's no doubt. And the ones are always going to give something to surprise us as well. Pat, be good. We'll talk to you on Friday.
Take care, guys. Have a great day.
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, which is weekly afternoons. He does the show with Jim Miller, and he's part of CBS's NFL Today show. He also does a show with Jim on Saturdays from 2 to 5 on NFL Radio. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh.
We'll come back and reflect on what Pat said, talk a little more football because, well, that's what we do on this show. I mean, after all, it is football season. I know there's these baseball playoffs. I'm sure David will want to talk to him at some point. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Yeah.
Auto Parts and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth. that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So you mentioned that kid that got shoved was an ESPN employee? Oh, he doesn't have his mic on.
It's raining outside out of nowhere.
David, you said that kid that got pushed was an ESPN employee?
Yeah.
Can I book him?
Can you what?
Can book him on the show? Can I book him?
Sure.
Probably a great story. Sure, Barstool would pick up his quotes.
Powerball up to 420, baby.
Powerball's up to 420. Mega Millions, is that like 450? Can Notre Dame beat Clemson? Not right now. I don't think so.
I mean, can they? You know, the answer, of course, is sure, but Clemson's better.
It's in Clemson too, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it is. I thought they played at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Last year.
So somebody got shot and killed at Mercado over the weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Somebody was shot and killed in the Mercado over the weekend. You know, in North Naples.
Right.
My God, did you see the girl that got shot and killed because she beat a guy in a basketball game?
Yeah, I know. Unbelievable.
It was insane.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, it's at Notre Dame? I did not realize that. Okay.
Oh, wow. So that game against Clemson was 2 years ago when, well, yeah, Trevor couldn't play. That's true.
That's
Had to be
right.
2 years ago.
I will say Clemson's got a bye the week before that too.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that, Mello. Yeah, it's just still stunning to me.
15 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour till we're done in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. Then the bonus hour for our loyal listeners in Southwest Florida, who we hope are doing better by the day. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our poll question, which has been up on the site for over 2 hours. It's darn near a record.
I think it is a record.
Now, like a couple months ago, you had a poll question ready before the show.
Oh, you are right.
Don't ask me what it was, but I just remember you were all proud at like 5:58. You were like, poll question's done. It's like, damn.
Well, I was ready, and it was more for a bonus hour question. But yesterday at 6:00 on the news, and it may have happened before that, but I found out literally. I watched like the 3 minutes of the end of the news and watched right at 6, and they opened up with breaking news that the boil water notice has been lifted for the majority of Lee County. And my poll question was going to be, how many of you have brushed your teeth using the tap water with the boil water notice going on? Because at some point, you give up bringing the bottled water in there with you. At some point, it's just, I'm going to take my chances with what's coming out of the sink right here.
Right.
So do you want to know what I did? I filled up an empty trash bin with water, and I would just scoop some water, brush, and then I would just scoop it off.
Did you boil the water in the trash thing?
No. I filled it up before the hurricane.
So you had a 14-day-old water that you were brushing your teeth with.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
I'll take what's out of the tap.
Hold on. Also, the trash bin. What did you clean it?
Yeah. It was a new one.
No. But I mean brand new. Like literally the first thing that was put in it was this water.
Yes.
There was a lot of hesitation with that answer.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It was purchased in August.
So you used it for trash between August, or did it just sit there for 4 months?
Well, it had a bag. Okay.
Oh, you didn't clean it. You didn't clean it. It's a garbage can. You really think nothing gets through those hefty bags? Okay, you really think that
First off, if I would have bought a new trash can from Walmart, Target, wherever, I would have washed that before I put water in. A brand new one that never had trash in it, David. No wonder you had an upset stomach last week. You know, Moulton's over here trying to play Nurse Moulton on Tuesday of last week.
Right.
Get a lot of fluids. Get a lot of fluids. He's drinking water from the trash can, for the love of God.
Not drinking it. I'm just using it to brush my teeth.
And you don't drink any of that water.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I said splash. I splashed my toothbrush in it. A little whoop. Whoop.
In the words of Chris Berman.
Yeah. Do you gargle? Did you gargle with it?
No.
Did you? No. Okay.
No, he uses the toilet water for that.
Well, glad I don't have to worry about this anymore.
Well,
run your water, ladies and gentlemen.
Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Got a hell of a sports day today.
We really do.
The divisional series gets underway in Major League Baseball. All 4 series will get underway. You've got games from 1 o'clock till past midnight if you're into playoff baseball. Phillies and Braves at 1 on Big Fox. Thank you very much. By the way, here's a great idea. Let's schedule a game at 1 o'clock on a weekday in Atlanta. The game will take 3:15. It'll get out at around 4:30, about 30 minutes north of the city. Okay. And then we're going to let 40,000+ people head on to the 2 major highways, 20 to 30 minutes north of the city at around 4:30 to 5 o'clock. Man, I hope the Braves win because they're all going to be stuck in traffic.
Well, I'll tell you what, it would have been harder. I don't know, because you know, traffic comes from downtown there and kind of flows north. A lot of those folks will be going against again. I don't know what would have been the right time to have that. If they'd had a 4:30 start, it would have been just as bad, people trying to get there. But you are right.
Hope the
Between
Braves
75,
win.
85, 400, and 285 rolling around that town. It's going to be a crawl today.
Seattle and Houston, which no one cares about. It'll be on TBS beginning at 3:30. I am thrilled for the Mariners. 21 years in between playoff appearances, and here they are. They're going to get at least one home playoff game out of the deal. Oh, by the way, this is how big a deal this is in Seattle. The Seahawks are seriously considering moving their game. The Seahawks host the Arizona Cardinals Sunday. Well, I think that would be game 4 for the Mariners-Astros. If you haven't been to Seattle, the stadiums are across the street from one another. Literally. You walk down a specific street. The one stadium's to your right, the other is to your left. And so from a traffic standpoint, they're like, and they both use the same land to park. So you can't have 2 games going on at the same time. There is not enough parking, and it ain't close.
All right, so when are they talking about moving it to?
Well, that Pete didn't say yesterday, but he was asked about potentially the conflict, and the Seahawks said, we are looking into moving the game. And what I'm wondering is, would they move the game to Sunday night? And Fox could air it in Seattle and Arizona only, because that's all that game's going to be shown to anyway. And then this way, NBC and Sunday Night Football will be in the rest of the country. It's the Cowboys and the Eagles. I mean, yeah, okay, some people in Seattle and Phoenix may not watch your game, but, what are you going to do? So we're curious whether or not NBC will agree to them to make that a night game or not, or if that's not even enough time. Because, Mark,
right?
Because you basically need 5 hours. You need 2 hours for people to arrive, 3 hours, and then really you need another hour. So you need 6 hours, and then in theory, the Seahawks crowd could show up. So, do they move it to Monday? Do we get another 5 o'clock Monday football game like we had during the pandemic year?
And if that happens, I'm guessing that will still only be aired in Seattle and Arizona.
Right. That's our guess. That's our guess. Because they can't move it to the day before because I believe in theory that day is game 3.
And David, if I'm Arizona, I'm not agreeing to play Monday. I'm not. I mean, don't they have to have some say on this?
Do you really think they get final say? Doesn't the home team get final say on this?
Well, I would think moving it Sunday. Changing the day, I would think they'd have to get Arizona to go along with it. But I could be wrong.
So anyway, there's a potential, and I don't know, do you end up playing a morning game? Do you end up doing something crazy and playing a 9:30 a.m. game, your version of a London game, and get it done, get it over with, and then the Mariners crowd can show up. And here's the funny thing. They're not going to know much before, they basically have to make this decision because you're not going to get a whole lot of notice as to whether or not the game's going to be played or not.
No, this is the second game in Seattle, right?
I believe so.
So it'd be Saturday, Sunday.
I believe that is the case, yes.
That is nuts, as a matter of fact.
Right. So, and then, who knows? I don't think baseball's moving the game. And let's face it, this is a issue the Seahawks have not had to deal with. I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs since 2001.
And then obviously at night we get Yankees and Dodgers. Guardians and Yankees at 7:30, Padres and Dodgers at 9:30. That'll take us well into midnight for the West Coast National League Divisional Series. But we also have a doubleheader in hockey tonight.
Yes, we do. 7:30 and 10. Lightning Rangers in New York at 7:30. Las Vegas and the Kings. So you will have, oh, by the way, you'll have the LA Kings and the LA Dodgers both playing within 30 minutes of one another in Los Angeles. Fortunately, there's a little bit of geography in between Chavez Ravine and where the Kings play. But the traffic will be glorious. Listen, very quickly. Lightning still Stanley Cup contenders in your estimation?
Contenders, yes. Because the last time I checked, they still have the same guy playing goalie, right?
Right, the best in the world.
So they are obviously still a contender. The roster wasn't as good last year as it was the year before. I don't think it's as good this year as it was last year. But it's still a damn good roster, and they're still, I think, one of the, to me, they're clearly one of the 4 best in the East, David, but the East is loaded.
It is.
Carolina's got a really good team. The Rangers have a really good team.
Do we dare give Florida and Toronto credit? Or
Florida and Toronto both have really good teams, but
right,
until they can win a playoff series.
A lot of people think Boston's going to be very good again this year. I think the Capitals take a big step back. I think age finally catches up with the Caps. I'm worried about the same thing in Pittsburgh. They keep saying, they put the band back together again and they've got one more run in them. They haven't won a playoff series since they won the Cup. And didn't they win the Cup in like 2016 and 17? I mean, I think they've gone 5 years without winning a playoff series. Tough to believe that all of a sudden you're going to win 2, 3, or 4.
And you got to think that, Detroit's better. I don't think they're a playoff team, but, there are the rest of these teams in the bottom that I think are going to be picking away at the Pittsburghs and the Washingtons of the world, that these aren't automatic wins as maybe they were in years past. Because it was literally from the All-Star break on, there were 8 teams in the playoffs and no one else. There was no fight in the East last year.
Now, another team that I think people should remember is the Islanders. The Islanders had that 13-game road trip to start the year last year because their building wasn't ready, and they just got off to a terrible start. They had a big COVID outbreak, one of the last ones, really, that affected a North American sports team, and they just got buried in it. They went to the conference finals the 2 years before. They're still a good hockey team there, even though they don't have as good a head coach anymore.
And the defending champs are still the team to beat in the West. Colorado is the gold standard on that side. I'll be interested to see what Calgary's like with the moves they made and were forced to make, if they can continue to be a solid team. And will Edmonton ever make a playoff run?
Also curious about the Panthers in that respect. Panthers made some major moves after another playoff disappointment. Major moves. And a new head coach in Paul Maurice, whether or not that works or not. But I'm with you, by the way. To me, the Lightning are still very much Stanley Cup contenders. I would bet on the Lightning before I'd bet on the Leafs. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't care that the Leafs roster is supposedly better and deeper. Sorry. Pedigree matters in that sport a lot.
And they've not yet proven that they can handle the pressure of the big moment. They've blown it too many times, and the cast is not that different than years before. If they can get going, we all believe they have the talent to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup, but they have not been able to do anything in the postseason.
So the hockey season technically got underway Friday and Saturday of last week, but it was in the Czech Republic and it was Nashville and San Jose. So, I mean, let's face it, it counts in the standings, but none of us count it. So it starts tonight. ESPN tonight for the two games, and then TNT with their debut of the hockey season on Wednesday.
There will be roughing calls in those games, but no roughing the passer. I believe you're still allowed to have contact in hockey. We'll find out tonight. Football, we know that you cannot hit the quarterback anymore. You can bear hug him. That is the proper way to sack a quarterback, is put him in the grasp and don't you dare throw him to the ground. It's our poll question. Which roughing the passer from the weekend was worse? And David, we are in a dead heat right now. The Chris Jones on Carr and the Grady Jarrett on Brady. We have 50% to each right now. And you can go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, to vote, or FloridaSportsNetwork.com.
By the way, I'll give you one upset in baseball. I'll give you Cleveland over the Yankees.
I think there's a lot of people that hope you're right.
I'm not rooting for it.
None of them are working for networks.
No, absolutely not. Okay, if anybody from Fox just heard this, okay, they're needing a Heimlich. But I'm just not sold on the Yankees starting pitching, or their bullpen for that matter. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, Nobody better for value and service. E-Motorcycles. Check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Who's the NBC, whether producer or whatever, that listens to our show? The guy that's your friend.
Assistant News Director Tim Koutsardis.
Okay, I don't think it was him. Maybe it was him. I think he got some decent airtime because they were bringing people on that had a little more familiarity. I forgot to tell you that during the storm, as they were showing things. It's weird for the news because I watched a little bit last night. At some point, they've got to transition to do some other stories that are not all hurricane, but I don't know when you do that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like someone got murdered at the Marquette.
Right. I'm totally with you.
It's
right.
Not saying they're doing a bad job, but I'm just like, even with all that news, where do you?
Well, and also you have to differentiate. We had to deal with this and all the flooding in North Dakota in the late 90s, in which we could do these flooding stories every day for months. There's going to be cleanup, there's damage, there's lives affected, the whole deal. So now we have to start thinking about the stories that affect the most people.
Right. Right. I mean, because I don't know how much they've gotten into what's going on in Arcadia with the Peace River, that, there's still Charlotte County.
Right. Looking forward, how many of the structures do we think are permanently damaged or that need, fixing?
Those big condos, that's the big thing now to me.
Right. Sure. But also bridges, after what we've seen with the Causeway and other places. I mean, hey, the section of I-75 and the Myakka River there. I mean, come on now. When you're shutting a highway down for a day and a half because of flooding over the highway, well, okay. So, are we good? There's only going to be tens of thousands of cars with tens of thousands of people every day going over this. I mean, are we good? Saw Len Jennings last night briefly.
Yeah?
Nope.
Any of the other ones by chance?
Doing I did not see Soren Petro. I don't know if he was at the game. Jeff and his wife Amy, who used to live in Southwest Florida, in fact in the villas in Fort Myers, and moved back to Iowa. They were at the game last night. He was wearing a Len Dawson jersey. She was wearing a Mahomes.
Felipe's got his Mahomes jersey on today.
He's the best quarterback in the NFL.
He's the most entertaining.
Look, we're going to start talking about him and Kelsey being the greatest tight end quarterback duo of all time.
Yeah.
That's the first time, Philly, that you've gone to the greatest ever, because you do it 47 times a week. That's the first time I actually 100% agree with you.
They're one of the greatest tight end quarterback duos.
No, you might be right.
You might be right. That might be the best.
There's nothing. It's just inevitable. In your fantasy team, you either have Travis Kelce or you don't.
That's usually.
You You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour for our loyal audience in Southwest Florida. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our poll question, one of the best we've ever asked, at least in terms of how close the vote is. So which roughing the passer call was more ridiculous? Grady Jarrett on Brady? Chris Jones on Derek Carr? It was a dead heat as of about 10 minutes ago. So vote accordingly.
Still is. David, the text line blew up. 21,000 is the number if you've never texted before. FSN radio is the keyword for those of you that have never texted before. It's all one word. Once you do that, you're in and can text forever. But going back a couple segments, when I said after the boil water notice that I had risked it. I had brushed my teeth with water from the tap for the last 3 or 4 days.
Right.
And I just finally had enough. And Felipe informed all of us that before the storm, on Wednesday of last week, he filled up a garbage pail full of tap water and used that to brush his teeth.
Well, this has got to be 2 weeks ago, right? It was 2 Tuesdays ago.
Right.
It's 2 weeks ago today.
Well, I stopped using it. Let's see. I stopped using it on Friday because I went to Miami over the weekend where there was clean water. But now there's clean water again.
A lot of questions. The text line, Felipe.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
First off, it's just a comment said he ain't using Hefty. He's using Publix bags. That's nasty, Felipe.
No. Well, actually, I'm not using Hefty. I'm using Costco bags.
There you go. You're using a cheaper version. Someone just simply asked, where did you all go wrong with Felipe? And then one guy said, lasted 3 days, and I finally said, I'm risking it. But Felipe, they are certainly in question of your methods.
It's not like I got a straw and just started drinking water from there. I splashed my toothbrush in there, in and out, 0.5 seconds.
What's funny is then he would, into that water that he made dirty with all the stuff in his mouth, would continue to use that same water. I mean, Felipe, I am proud of you and also embarrassed for you at the same time. Because sometimes you got to look everybody in the eye and say, I'm doing it my way. And this is one of those cases, Felipe, where you did it your way, and I don't know if anybody else would have.
Who's going to stop me?
That's not your girlfriend.
What girlfriend?
Exactly.
Felipe also said something right before we came back on the air in which he said, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, all right, is the greatest quarterback to tight end duo in the history of the league. And what? It's either when they're done, Mahomes, Kelce versus Brady and Gronk.
They're already doing things that Brady and Gronk have never done.
I don't know about that.
Outside of a 4-touchdown game, can you explain to me what?
I think Kelce has more yards.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss the Super Bowls.
Okay, true.
Kind of a big deal.
Yes.
But we keep score in this sport.
But it's not like Kelce isn't big time in the playoffs.
No. They're both tremendous. I mean, come on. Mahomes has hosted 4 consecutive AFC championship games. I mean, they did lose to Brady and Gronk in one of those games, but I digress. They also lost to Brady and Gronk in a Super Bowl. I digress. But, just keep the head-to-head and the Super Bowls in mind.
No, I get it.
We break a lot of ties that way. But, and then people bring it up, Fouts and Winslow. Listen, there's no doubt, and let's face it, Brady and Gronk both going to be Hall of Famers. Mahomes and Kelce certainly appear as if both are going to be Hall of Famers. So at the very least, you have to come up with a quarterback tight end tandem that are two Hall of Famers just to even warrant being in the discussion.
And I think it's one or the other, and not. I love people going Fouts and Kellen Winslow, but remember, and specifically when you think about Gronk, outside of Moss being there was never a time that Gronk wasn't the best, arguably the best receiver on the team. Whereas with Winslow, you had Jefferson, you had
Charlie Joyner.
So, I mean, different. And not taking away, because I loved Kellen Winslow and Dan Fouts together. But I do think that they have a chance to surpass Brady and Gronk.
See what they do in 5 years.
Well, that means Kelsey plays for 5 more years. That's the other side of this.
Right.
He's 33.
Yeah. So
how many rings do Brady and Gronk have together? 4? I believe it's 4. Because Tom has 7. He won his first 3 without Gronk.
I mean, Gronk has 92 career touchdowns, 9,300 yards, 620 receptions. The Kelsey already has more receptions and more yards, way behind on touchdowns.
Okay. Kelsey, age 31?
33.
Oh.
They're the same age, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Which shows you what a physical specimen Kelsey is.
Right.
Because Gronk, obviously a great athlete and took care of himself very well throughout his career, but suffered more injuries and cut his career shorter, obviously, than Kelsey's going to.
Kelsey, if he plays every game this year, will have played more games than Gronk. Right now, he is 11 games behind Gronk in career numbers.
How many touchdowns is he behind Gronk?
Gronk has 92 touchdowns. Kelsey has 64.
Damn.
Yeah. Kind of
Gronk
specifically with that position means a lot. Why you're talking about this today, Felipe, and I'm not saying anything you said. I think you're onto something. But one of the reasons you're bringing this up is why. He had 4 touchdowns last night. So you can't, in the same sentence, talk about the greatness of Kelsey last night and dismiss the touchdowns from Rob Gronkowski.
Well, Gronk had Brady throwing to him his whole career. I mean, I'm not discrediting Alex Smith here, but if he had Patrick Mahomes,
yeah,
I mean,
his stats would be better. There's no doubt.
Again, 4 or 5 years.
But I don't know
because he'll play more games.
But
like you said,
you got to. That's saying Kelsey will play 4 more years.
That's a lot.
That's asking. He's 33 years old right now.
Right.
And Jason Witten could do it.
Also, he's taken a pounding, and as been pointed out, we haven't even brought up the blocking. Gronkowski's a better blocker.
Yeah,
Rob Gronkowski blocked at times like a tackle. I mean, you literally could leave Gronk in to block a defensive end. I mean, Rob Gronkowski was an amazing football player. Unbelievable how good he was.
Not a great safety, though. Just ask the Miami Dolphins.
Exactly.
That's why you don't play him out of position.
Yeah, right? Yep.
Didn't always take the best angle at safety. You're right. No question. But,
by the way, if you're going to put Brady in the Bucs Ring of Honor, don't you put Gronk in too?
You're asking the wrong
I'm
guy.
being very sarcastic in saying that.
Well, no, it's a legitimate point.
It's just weird.
Yes.
It's so weird. The whole Bucs situation over the last 3 years, it's just been weird. It's a dream.
Come on, though. I mean, the impact of Tom Brady, though. I mean, honestly, forget the winning. I mean, they were having 40,000 people in the stands in the smallest or second smallest NFL stadium as it is before Brady showed up on the scene. That franchise was in trouble.
Yeah, you're being generous with 40,000 in the stands. I thought you were going to say 40,000 empty seats, David. I think you're being a little generous. I'm not lying at all here.
So, yeah, never mind the fact that they're going to make the playoffs 3 straight years. I mean, if they win, I believe, a playoff game this year, during Brady's 3 years, they will have won as many playoff games as the entire franchise had before Brady. I believe he's one playoff win behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers franchise in playoff wins.
That's ridiculous. David,
That's how little success that they had had.
I
could be wrong. I could be wrong, but they won one playoff game in 79. Dungy's first time they went to the playoffs, they won a playoff game. That's 2. They then went to the NFC title game, but they had a first-round bye. That's 3. I believe they had 3 playoff wins all time before Gruden's run. They had a first-round bye that year. They won the Super Bowl by winning 3 playoff games. That's 6. That's it. Gruden went to the playoffs 2 more times. They didn't win a playoff game. They were one and done both times. Hadn't made the playoffs since. I believe the franchise has 11 career playoff wins, 6 before Brady, 5 with them.
I still pull out that stat that you so famously said on one of our shows where the Buccaneers have the worst winning percentage in NFL history, but have 2 rings to show for it. And the Minnesota Vikings have the 5th best winning percentage and have 0 rings to show for it. That just sums up this whole Tom Brady era of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Before Brady showed up, they were the worst pro franchise in North American sports since they came into being in 1976 in terms of winning percentage.
Bucks get a little soft spot on their schedule now, too. They had the Falcons last week at home, a back-to-back roadies, but it's the Steelers and the Panthers.
Need to be 5-2.
Need to be 5-2, no question. Because then a 3-game homestand on the other side of that, and the Bucks could start making some hay. Not just in their division, but in the NFC. Because of those 3 home games, Ravens, Rams, and Seahawks, the Rams don't look nearly as difficult as what we thought at the beginning of the year. Ravens obviously do, and the Seahawks are better than we thought. That's all before the bye for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was the day when and what's on tap, all still ahead. Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Boy, Chris, how about blaming the victim? By the way, Chris, I'd blame the Dolphins. If they took him out of the game when he got hurt the first time, we wouldn't have had anything. No issue at all. Don't they have to throw Pitts the ball, Canada relief?
And wouldn't that require a quarterback?
I think once Desmond Ridder becomes the quarterback, then there's a chance. If anybody listening ever goes to Arrowhead for a game, walk through the parking lot. Like, just go for a walk.
Did you this time?
Yeah, because we always get dropped off like just outside the stadium in the parking lot, and we have to, there's a drop-off area, and then people walk down a hill, and we walk through the red section of the parking lot.
Any free drinks, free food?
Well, there would have been if we had
Time.
but it just smelled so good.
Oh, I bet.
We got offered stuff last time. In fact, we accepted it.
Actually, I got to just quickly. Your argument has been debunked because while Kelsey has all those numbers, his numbers with Mahomes are 5,300 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 419 receptions, where every single one of Gronk's catches come from Brady.
That's what I was saying, though.
No. You said the Kelsey and Mahomes will be the best tight end combination. Gronk and Brady are 620 receptions, 9,275 yards, and 92 touchdowns. Kelsey and Mahomes together, not just Kelsey's stats, because Kelsey's stats come career-wise. His stats with Mahomes are 419 receptions, 5,300 yards, and 41 touchdowns.
Okay. I didn't know that Kelsey was Gronk's age.
No, I'm just, it was a good segment, but I just looking up, I can look up the actual stats.
But I think, look, this is crazy.
They need to win they need to win another Super Bowl to be a finalist. I mean,
Yeah, they need to have this year and at least one more really good year together.
The thing is, again, knock on wood, but they can win a Super Bowl.
Absolutely, they can. Absolutely,
They can.
They've been to 2. They won 1. You know, Gronk and Brady went to what? 6 and won 4.
But basically, Kelsey played half of his games without Mahomes. Gronk didn't play any of his games without Brady. It's not saying that Kelsey isn't better than Gronk or whatever you're trying to say. What I'm saying is,
right,
they weren't together. If you're judging the combo, when you actually, because I looked up the stats. I didn't have it.
Right. We got 10 seconds.
Yes, Ryan.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, our bonus hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Go to the website or that Mark Miller or the David Moulton. Vote in our poll question, which roughing the passer call was worse? Grady Jarrett on Tom Brady, Chris Jones on Derek Carr. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, floridasportsnetwork.com, and vote accordingly. Really good, close vote.
More texts coming in about Felipe
and the water
in the garbage can. Someone asked quite simply, why didn't you use the bathtub? I responded to them knowing what a bathroom is like at your age, that I'm guessing the tub hasn't been cleaned in several months.
Well, I used the tub to shower. It's a Puerto Rican shower right there. You don't need the details, but I didn't have water forever, so I filled up the bathtub, and yeah, there were sections to do things in a hurricane apartment with no power and no water, so I had to improvise. So for the haters out there, and by the way, I didn't gargle that trash can water.
No, you use the toilet water to gargle with.
No, I'm not your dog, okay?
No, my dog, I wouldn't give my dog that type of water. Are you kidding me? Wife might leave me if I did that.
Felipe, I don't think you're in the minority as much as you think. Okay. I think us guys, John Mellencamp, and I'll clean this up. John Mellencamp basically said if it wasn't for the significant others in our life, okay, that we would have all sorts of blank just laying around all the time, and we wouldn't do anything about it.
You're so right, because I can walk by something in my house that's on the floor and have no problem walking right past it several times. But I pick it up because if my wife saw me walk past it, she'd be like, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah, pick it up. Come on now. Right. So,
Look, I'm not a mess, okay? Like,
no.
room
But
is
just
pretty organized.
but just what you did. That's all. Just, you thought about it too. You said, hey, a storm's coming. I may lose water. And so I need to house a large amount of water. What is it that could house a large amount of water? How about a garbage can? Okay. All right. And it was pretty damn new. Sounded like it was 4 or 5 weeks old.
Yes.
Okay. The only flaw, literally, you only made one flaw. All right. You apparently had just, put a few garbage bags in it and then thrown said garbage bags out. It sounded as if you did not wash said garbage can before you put your clean water in it. That's all. And Felipe, trust me, on the guy's scale of cleanliness, that is not even a felony.
You're somewhere between a 4 and a 6. It's not a 1, 2, 3, and it's certainly not a good score, but it's very average.
Yeah, that's a slap on the wrist, $250 fine by the judge. Don't get in trouble for 30 days. That's nothing.
This is an older audience that's texting in, forgetting some of the things they did from a cleanliness standpoint at a younger age.
Right.
I'll boost myself up or down or whatever benefits me, because that trash can did not live in the kitchen. So
I don't know if that makes it better or worse.
You're thinking, pizza slices and
now you're making me think it lived in the bathroom.
Well, Felipe, I have to admit, Felipe, as your defense attorney, I would like to encourage you to not say another word. Okay, we had made a very good case before the judge that this was nothing more than a slap on the wrist, and that I could actually see where you were coming from. Blah blah blah. We were doing really well. Don't say another word.
Right until the defendant said, "Hang on, I got one more thing
exactly.
I want to say."
Right. You're
went
still
off
on this
script. We had worked
Right.
on this. The lawyers had talked to you. We went through all
Exactly.
the questioning.
Right. And I turned to the judge and I go, "No, Your Honor, I'm done with all the questions." And he goes, "No, I want to hear what the defendant has to say." Felipe, what's on your mind? And then you go off on your little thing, and I just put my head down at the table, and the judge smiles at me like, "Oh, it's going to be worse." So that's all. That's all. My mom is sending me texts reminding me of just how,
All I'm thinking of is the bathrooms in the places that I lived in. That's
unbelievable.
really what I'm and this is a me problem more than it's a you problem, Felipe, because all I am thinking of is between the ages of 20 and 25 in the places that I lived in and the care that I gave said bathrooms. And I know it was not at a very high level.
Felipe, I had stuff that like got up and walked out of my apartments. It was so bad. All right. So believe me, you're doing just fine.
Let me just finish with one question, and it's a yes or no answer.
No, Your Honor, I object. I object.
Did you tell your mother that you used a garbage can for water to brush your teeth?
It's yes or no.
Yes, but I told her that I filled it up with water, not that I used it to brush my teeth.
So the answer is no, actually. You didn't tell her you used...
Yeah, I was going to say no, but I didn't want you to be like, oh.
That's...
Okay, no, I didn't.
So at least you understand that what you did was pushing the envelope on cleanliness a bit, because if you're not willing to admit to mom...
Right. When you withhold things from mom, your wife, or your girlfriend, your significant other, that's when you know it's not on the up and up. Fully on the up and up.
There were 3 options on the table. I waste bottles of water, I use contaminated water, or I use that bin that I filled up with previously clean water that I just left.
Key word in that whole phrase is previously.
Previously.
Well, because the tap was previously clean.
Right. And by the time it sat in the garbage for a few days, we have no idea.
Oh, sorry. The water went stale. Sorry. The water that I splashed my toothbrush in went stale.
I'd like to just read what Deadstruck offered in the Twitch chat room. The rats and roaches walked out of David's apartment saying this place is filthy. I never had rats. Okay, I've never had rats. Okay. All right. Maybe there have been other things that but I've never had rats.
And Felipe, I'm not better, because I used it.
No.
This all started because I wanted, if we would not have had the boil water notice lifted, I wanted the poll question to be, have you broken down yet and used tap water to brush your teeth? Because I finally gave up. And it was, when I'm talking to people, because this is so surreal right now, there are some of us that are in a bubble. There are some of us that got through this storm without significant damage, and life is basically back to normal. And so you start talking to those people, and you have to find some humor somewhere.
And besides, Felipe, in my closing statements before either the judge or the jury, I am owning up to so much worse, behavior that honestly, quite frankly, by the time I'm done with my closing statement, I'm wanting you to get a certificate of appreciation.
So you went the water bottle route.
I went the water bottle route for a couple of days, and then I finally just had enough.
You caved, yeah.
I caved.
It's okay.
And I seem to be fine.
Who wants to buy me a new toothbrush?
Now that would be my first thing I was doing if I were you.
Yeah, there you go. Yep,
might be a trip to the dentist for you.
That might be necessary. In fact, I think when the judge sentences you, you get a lollipop and a toothbrush. It's kind of like going to the dentist.
Miller and Moulton, breaking down the hard-hitting subjects of the day and roughing the passer as well. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap and our final thoughts still lie ahead right here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, and I like this toothbrush too. I don't want to say goodbye to this toothbrush, if I'm being honest. Hey, man, Canada. This is my 4th hurricane. And I stayed for all 4 of those hurricanes. Look. Call it how you want. Ah. Bayheim, that's good. Trying to defend yourself for using a trash can to store portable water is like trying to convince yourself Tua is a good quarterback. Which he is, by the way, you know. Oh, sorry. That's the sound of Georgia choking.
Uh-oh, sounds like the toilet water's getting to Felipe.
Uh-oh. Bayheim goes, trying to defend yourself using a trash can to store portable water is like trying to convince yourself Tua is a good quarterback.
Oh, Tua is a good quarterback. He's
Yeah,
an
he
average,
is a good
average
quarterback.
quarterback. He's hurt, but that guy hates him, so whatever. He hasn't been in. He had to wait till he got hurt. After he beat Buffalo, he doesn't come in the Twitch chat room.
Ah, right.
But when he gets hurt, knocked out, then he comes in.
That's
That's how it works.
Certified Tua hater.
You got exactly.
Yep.
When he was, I think he's 11-1 in his last 12 starts.
Yeah,
11-2 because he lost. Because technically he lost. No. Yeah, 11-2.
11-2. Yeah, Bengals. More like 11-1 1/4, or 1 2/4.
DC, Vegas doesn't think he's playing. We'll find out more after practice today if he practices.
Yeah.
But if you look at the line,
right. Also, to the gentleman who asked about a half hour ago about Tre'Davious White, it doesn't sound like he's playing. I mean, when a coach is saying he's day to day and he only returned to practice last week, I don't think White's playing against the Chiefs.
What was the name of the tight end for the Dolphins that caught like a 75-yard touchdown from Chad Henne to prevent them from being winless?
I don't think it was a tight end.
Rich Armarillo.
Was
it like
Camarillo?
Camarillo.
Camarillo?
Rich Camarillo, Rich Camarillo, something like that.
because there was one guy named Camarillo who was a punter, and the other guy was a wide receiver. Camarillo, I think, is how they pronounce it.
Camarillo. There you go. You got it.
No, it's
Greg
not Camarillo.
Greg Camarillo.
Craig?
Yeah, because he called him Rich.
Oh,
He called him the wrong name. If you listen, it's a great, horrible Dolphins call.
oh, he called him Rich instead of Greg.
I think so. I think that's what I remember because they're all talking, stepping over each other, yelling, screaming.
That's funny. Yeah, there's no timetable on Tua's return, I think. It sucks that Tua is an ultra competitor and loves the game of football and just wants to win. Because it might end up costing him.
I don't think that's different than any of them. I think the Dolphins cost him. Shouldn't have played him.
Shouldn't have
It was
played
stupid.
him. Yeah. Gosh, just take the L against the Bengals and then beat the hell out of the Jets. Gear up for Sunday against Minnesota. Tua's looking fine. Oh, the way that this season has turned. It's not over yet, though.
Okay, Felipe, I appreciate it.
Not over yet. They got 12 games left.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour is up. About 17 minutes until our show is up. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Poll question: which roughing the passer call in the last 48 hours has been more ridiculous? Brady Jarrett's call against Brady Sunday afternoon. Chris Jones flagged for roughing the passer while sacking and stripping Derek Carr of the football.
Dead even right now, which surprises me a lot. I thought the Brady one would win this going away, even though I did not vote for that one.
So that Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, floridasportsnetwork.com. Vote accordingly.
Time now for...
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We start in 1890. The first 100-yard dash under 10 seconds is run by John Owen, a 9.8. 1911, Ty Cobb and Frank Schultz are named the inaugural MLB MVPs. Their prize is a car. I mean, 1911, that's a pretty good prize.
Yeah. But did they share it? I mean, they shared the award. I mean...
Well, one's the American League MVP, one's the National League MVP.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Just wanted to make
So I don't
sure
think they shared the car. I think they each got a car. I think that's a pretty good prize.
I agree. Of course, at the time, Mark, they may have looked at and said, "What do you expect me to do with this?
Could I have a horse instead?"
Right, please.
1913, the Philadelphia A's beat the New York Giants to win the World Series. It's their third title in 10 years. So there was a time that Philadelphia baseball was winning all the time.
And there was a time where the A's filled up seats.
Yeah.
Just
Johnny
a
Mack
century ago.
was their owner and manager. It kind of ended in the early 30s.
I did not know this one, David, and maybe you did. 1927, Lou Gehrig is named the American League MVP. Ruth is not named the MVP when he hit 60 because a former winner is not eligible.
What?
That's how I'm reading it. I'd never seen that
No.
before in my life. Now, I don't know when they changed this, but obviously that was the case at some point. 1929, J.C. Penney opened store number 1252, making it a nationwide company with stores in all 48 states. David, what state do you think was the last state to get a J.C. Penney? Remember, it's 1929, 48 states.
Washington.
Delaware.
Oh, wrong coast.
I would have been with you. I would have been guessing Washington or Oregon myself. 1943, the Yanks win their 10th World Series. 1948, the Indians win their second.
And last, they have not won the World Series in 74 years.
Today in 1972, the World Hockey Association officially debuts as the Alberta Oilers defeat the Ottawa Nationals. It was today in 1975 that this little show called Saturday Night would debut on NBC. The host was George Carlin. Told the baseball and football joke on that one. 1978, Billy Joel releases 52nd Street. It was his first chart topper. 1980, the Mavs have their debut. They win against the Spurs in their first game. Today in 1981, the Stones opened their tour at the LA Coliseum with this unknown musician named Prince as the opening act.
Imagine what the Stones crowd must have thought of Prince.
Not mistaken. I think they booed him incessantly at the first show. Like throwing crap on the stage, booed him. 91, Chip Beck shoots 59 in the third round of the Vegas Invitational. 1992, we had the first presidential three-way debate. Bush, Clinton, and Perot. That same day, Dion would play for the Falcons and the Braves.
What a day that was.
And the Braves hated him for it. It basically was the beginning of the end of his career with the Braves.
Well, right, because that was during the playoffs.
2006, 30 Rock debuts. 2020, just 2 years ago, it was the French Open final because of COVID. Rafi beats Joker for his 20th Grand Slam title and his 13th French. And it was also that same day that the Lakers beat the Heat by 13.
How are you going to take my last bubble one? Come on.
Because it's actually a title. It's actually something that matters. A championship was won. When you do today, in this day in history, game 3 when someone scored 22 is not relevant.
I've been saying bubble dates since July.
I know. But
that
I
was my last one.
Figured you'd skip this one because the Heat lost. And it was a year ago that John Gruden stepped down as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Felipe, this is the problem that you have and that you're always going to have. And there's nothing you can do about it. His name is on the show. Okay. All right. That's an obstacle. That's a hill you're not going to be able to climb, buddy.
Can't argue with that.
Those born today that are no longer with us: Henry John Hines, Big and Ketchup, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Luke Perry. Those celebrating birthdays today: Steve Young is 61, Joan Cusack is 60, Cherokee Parks is 50, Jason Arnott, hockey player, is 48, Mike Conley Jr. is 35, Michelle Wee is 33, Cardi B is 30, and TJ Watt is 28 years old. David, what did I miss?
Well, on this day that Saturday Night Live debuted, although as you mentioned, it was just called Saturday Night, I believe, that night. Springsteen gets his first top 40 hit today in 75 with Born to Run. 2 weeks later, he's on the cover of Time and Newsweek. Mark, also on this day in 1975, Bill Clinton and Hillary Rodham got married. They've been married 47 years.
Wow. I just told 4 jokes in my head. I'm sorry.
I know.
I didn't think any of them were arable. So one was funny and 3 would have gotten me fired.
I allowed everyone the time to tell a couple jokes amongst themselves. And what else we got today? 20 years ago today, Jimmy Carter won the Nobel Peace Prize.
there you have it.
You know, Mark, I'm not too mad about the whole bubble thing because you're right. The Heat did lose the championship that day. And you know it starts in a week, right? The
That's
NBA.
right.
So excited. I can't wait. All right, let's do this.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
What in the absolute hell was that?
Horns and everything. I didn't know if the NBA season was starting a week from today or the circus was in town.
Oh, boy. We go to Charlotte County for the good, where we all know the destructions that happened. But after a man's home was destroyed and there's nothing left, sometimes people do great things. After losing his home in Holiday Estates, he was given an RV by a neighbor to live in. That's just the way things have been, and that's an everyday occurrence down here. I can't be more proud of the community I live in, hearing stories of people who have lost everything and given to neighbors. A listener helped me out with a generator. He'd lost his house. This is what's going on down here, and will continue to go on. The goods will have goods for months around here. For the bad, we go to Wisconsin in a really disturbing story. Did you ever toilet paper anybody's house, David?
Yeah.
So it's homecoming week, and they're going out toilet papering. A couple of the kids are out doing some toilet papering, and they're going to toilet paper the athletic director's house because they're friends with the daughter of the athletic director. They pull down the road, and the athletic director is in fatigues with a flamethrower. He shoots the flamethrower at the boys, and he and his two buddies have a false arrest of 4 young men. Now they want the AD fired. He should be in Baraboo, Wisconsin. We'll see how this story plays out. Holy Toledo. I will say, I was almost toilet papered once, and I wasn't in fatigues, but I was waiting to sabotage the 3 or 4 girls that were going to toilet paper my house. When I lived on a corner with a stop sign, they saw me, gunned it through the stop sign. There was a police car not more than 2 blocks away. And Lily O'Neill got pulled over and got a running a red light ticket as I sat in my driveway and laughed. Finally, the ugly. We go to Miami and United Airlines.
Oh,
Where about an hour into a flight, Sharuri Sevilla started wandering around the plane, running up and down the aisles, clapping loudly near the cockpit and yelling obscenities. Apparently, after that, he broke off a small plastic piece off the bathroom door and opened it while another passenger was inside.
Whoa!
Then he got in other passengers' faces, stared, and smiled at them. When asked by a flight attendant to take his seat, he refused and opted to lie on the floor instead. When one flight attendant instructed him to get back to his seat, he attacked her by grabbing and twisting her right breast, according to NBC News.
Oh, my goodness.
He was detained when he got off the flight as he continued to scream and yell incoherent things. When questioned by the FBI, he said that he was on mushrooms and took them before boarding the flight. He apologized for his actions after and said that it was not his first time with the magic mushrooms. Can't imagine flying on shrooms. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, October the 11th, 2022.
Man, that's ugly.
It's really ugly.
I don't think I would have handled that well.
No, you'd have come out of your seat and tackled him. You'd
yeah.
gone right from sitting to a 3-point stance and a good forearm shiver, David.
Well,
there's not a doubt in my mind.
I think I would have asked a flight attendant first. Are we doing anything about this?
is this happening?
No. It's happening. But I think I would have asked the flight attendant, is the crew going to do something about this? Because I'm not spending 2 more hours on this flight with this guy running up and down and then eventually putting his face in my face and what have you. No, that's not happening. We'll tackle him. I'll sit on him. I'm going to do whatever we got to do. But no, this is ending.
the behavior, if you've not encountered any wild behavior on a plane. You've encountered a little bit of the mask stuff getting on into the plane, right?
Yeah, and there was a guy who was dangerously close to like starting a fight. He was belligerent with passengers and with the staff. And it was like a row away from me. And there were a few of us that basically said, dude, we will take you down and out. Okay, just you throw the first punch, we'll throw the rest. And he eventually calmed down and got in his seat. But you got to have more that it can't be mano to mano.
No.
Okay, no, you got to have numbers.
You need reinforcements.
Well, yes, you're on an airplane.
Yes.
Bad things could happen.
Right.
Metal tube flying through sky.
Well, and also they'll kick you off too. No. You have to make sure that it's numbers. It's 3-4 against 1, and that the staff knows we got, white hat, black hat here, which side you're on.
And the staff knows at that point.
Yeah.
They're well aware.
By the way, back to your bad really quick. I'd love to shoot a flamethrower one day. I think that's a bucket lister. That or a rocket launcher. That sounds like fun. Not at kids, though. That's not fun. Don't do that.
I was going to say, he's aiming pretty low here. for bucket list items, I got to admit. Hockey season gets underway tonight in New York. At least, the U.S. part of the schedule. Lightning and Rangers. ESPN at 7:30. 10 o'clock, Vegas and the L.A. Kings. Also on the 4-letter network. But we got 4 baseball playoff games, man. You picking any upsets? Phil's Braves?
I think, if anything, you're going to be right, David. If I were to take one, I'll take the Guardians, because I just don't see Houston losing. I don't see the Braves losing, and I don't see the Dodgers losing, David. I don't want to follow your pick there, but I think Houston and the Braves really outmatch their opponents.
I mean, I will say this. Houston and the Yankees were, many wins ahead of everyone else in the American League. The Dodgers and the Braves, both well over 100 wins. Phillies and the Padres, neither of them had 90. We've got clear favorites in these series. The 1 and the 2 seeds, even though it's just the best of 5, they should win. What I'm curious about, Mark, is that game 1, all of the home teams are throwing their aces, and all of the visiting teams are throwing like their number 3 or 4 starters. I mean, the home teams need to win today, because you can actually make the case that in games 2 and or 3, the underdog can have the pitching advantage.
And the odds show that minus 200 for the Braves is the best number on a favorite on the board. Everything gets higher than that. 220 on both the Astros and the Dodgers, 210 on the Yanks for today's numbers when you look at baseball. So which road team, and one of them's going to win today, David. One of them gets a game. I just don't know which. Miller and Moulton. Have a great rest of your day. We'll do this all over again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. We thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.